right tonight. That means Cameron Maben will play center, and Rick Vandenhurst, the pitcher, bats in the number 9 position. And here is Homer.
Well, Homer Bailey, it's been almost like a tale of 2 or even 3 seasons for Homer Bailey. You can go up until August the 23rd, and then that's when it all turned around for Homer. You know, a couple of starts before that August 23rd start, he got hit in the foot by a line drive off the bat of Albert Pujols. He came out in the 2nd inning. He pitched poorly his next start, but ever since then, he has been pretty much lights out. Last 2 times outs, however, he's run his pitch count up to about 115 pitches in 5+ innings, so he hasn't been around there deep into a ball game. But when he has been out there and throwing the ball where he wants to, he can be one of the game's best. He certainly has a fastball that comes out of his hand as easily as anybody in this National League. And the Florida Marlins are going to have their hands full tonight. The one thing worth mentioning about Homer is that he's the one pitcher on this Reds pitching staff that has had very little problems in the 1st inning. We've chronicled, it seems like, George, all year long how the Reds pitchers have had a hard time getting through the 1st inning by putting up a 0. Homer's not had that problem. Batting average against Homer in the 1st inning is right around even at 200, and that's not too bad at all.
He loved what the Reds gave starting pitchers last night, and that's 3 runs in the 1st. So Homer's ready to go. And your big number 34 ready with the defense behind him. Scott Rowland gathers in the baseball at 3rd, and we're ready to play some baseball tonight. Here's Chris Coghlan who'll lead it off. Coghlan 4 for 4 last night. He now owns the most 4-hit games by a major league rookie this season. He's the first rookie Marlin to record 3 4-hit games, and boy, he has been on fire. He comes in at 309, 9 homers and 42 knocked in. Our stats major mondo par excellence, Mark Wagner, telling us that it's another milestone, Chris. This is the first player to have a 4 for 4 perfect night here at Great American Ballpark since the ballpark opened.
Wow.
In their first game appearing at the park.
Got you. Okay.
And what a way to break in and give the Reds fans a peek at who he is and what he is. He's an outstanding young hitter.
He sure made it look easy last night. I mean, it wasn't like he hit the ball in the same spot every time. His hit chart is all over the place. Left field right field line, in between 1st and 2nd.
Simple swing, short, quick to the ball, and he bounces this one foul. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Coghlan was the rookie of the month for the month of August. 47 hits during that month, and since then he hasn't let up. He's been either 2, 3, or 4 in total hits in the month of September as well. And post the All-Star break, he's been outstanding, and guess what? He's going to continue that pace.
Are you kidding me?
5 for 5 against the Reds. And he's closing fast, putting in a vote for himself as a possible Rookie of the Year. Here's your 4 defensive alignment for the Reds. Vladimir Valentin will be in left. Drew Stubbs, after just a day off yesterday, will be in center. Johnny Gomes in right. Rowland, Drew Sutton in at short. Phillips and Votto across the infield. And Corky Miller will catch Homer. That's your 4 defensive alignment. So Homer right away working from the stretch. And he'll face Nick Johnson. Johnson in at an even 300. 8 homers and 61 knocked in. That kicks away from Corky. He'll go to the backstop. Coghlan will stop at 2nd. So just like that, the double play possibility is erased. There's a runner at 2nd, nobody out. Johnson trying to hook that ball to the right side.
Well, it doesn't look like our radar gun's working very well, George, because that came in at 78 miles an hour on our Fox Sports Ohio radar gun, 93 by the radar gun here at the ballpark. I'll go by the ballpark because that was a fastball from Homer Bailey. We know it was at least 90 miles an hour. But the one thing that Matt Maloney did last night with these Marlins, do a lot of off-speed pitches, a lot of curveballs, changeups, cutters, and they're a good fastball hitting team. It's a good challenge for Homer.
Slap foul and out of play. So it's 1 ball and 2 strikes to Nick Johnson. And Chris, whether it's been Homer Bailey or anybody else on this homestand, it's been working from the stretch right away. Michael Bourne did it in each game for the Houston Astros, and every leadoff hitter's gotten on in the first inning, so right away you're working from the stretch.
You are working from your stretch. That's good and bad. Mostly bad, especially if it comes around to score.
Bounce back to Homer. They'll hold the runner, and they'll get it out. Good job by Homer. You saw Coghlan. If that ball had gotten over Homer's head, he was ready to head to second. Remember, Coghlan was doubled off on the line drive to second base last night. No way he was going to get picked here.
Well, you know, this is not as easy as it looks because it's kind of a hesitation hit back to you, kind of a changeup ground ball, if there is such a thing. Homer kind of had a double step and then take it. But what he did when he caught the ball was the right thing. You turn around, you look at second base, check the runner, make sure that he's not trying to take a base on you. So he leaves him right there.
Chris, you've been there so many times, and yes, you deliver a pitch on the mound, but after you field a ball on the mound, so often as you try to set your feet with the unbalance of the mound and the pitch, that really spells disaster, and you end up throwing the ball into the dirt or over somebody's head.
How many times have you seen that on the easiest comebacker? And really the way I explain it, George, and used to see it, is that, you know, you're used to trying to throw the ball to the plate nearly at 100% effort. But at first base, you don't want to throw it that hard to Joey Votto, right? He's not ready for it. So you try to ease up on it, and that's when you don't have your normal delivery and the ball bounces or it goes into the stands.
Well, here's Hanley, 356, 23 homers. His 100th run batted into the season came last night. What a year he's had. Ramirez, one of the bright young stars of the game, and he just gets better and better. His average continues to rise. The home run totals, again, outstanding, over 20, and now at 100 runs batted in. How many shortstops this side of Alex Rodriguez and Jimmy Rollins and Barry Larkin give you 100 runs batted in as a shortstop? Not many. Native of the Dominican Republic. There goes Coghlan. They got a shot at him. Here's the throw. He's going to be out. What a perfect throw from Corky Miller. If he was going to go, you figured he'd get even a better break. A close bang play at third, but the break was not as dominant as you thought it might be.
Well, I'll tell you what, it looked like he was going to be in there, though, except for a perfect throw. And I mean, if that ball is not exactly over the bag right there, Coghlan's got himself a stolen base. Not a great jump by any means, but boy, that is a superlative effort by the Reds catcher.
And you couldn't mail it that any better than that. Perfect throw from Corky. That's a swing and a miss. And it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Watch the glove, and it's right on the hand.
Well, how nice is that for Scott Rowland just to get to the bag in time and have the ball get him there at the same time, but at the spot where it needs to be. I mean, that tag applied itself.
Good job by Miller to, after he was unable to get the ball in the dirt, and the wild pitch that got by him, it allowed the runner to go to second. And you know, a youngster trying to make something happen. Yes, you can say, if I get to third with Ramirez at the plate and only 1 out, we got a real good chance to get a run. But do you take a chance like that with Ramirez at the plate?
No, you know what? It took an absolutely perfect throw to get him. I think you do take a chance like that because a fly ball out of Ramirez will mean a run. A lot easier to get him in from third than it is from second.
And remember, this is a Marlin team that's been struggling for runs. They won the series in St. Louis, but not with a lot of runs. They got only 2 runs last night, so they're trying to come up. Freddie Gonzalez is with as many runs as they can. They are 15th in the league offensively. There's a bouncer over the third base bag, but foul.
Boy, as hard as Homer Bailey is throwing on that last pitch at 94 here, Hanley Ramirez, when you give him a chance to time the baseball, you can see that he's quick enough. His recognition is so good. His bat speed is so fast that he can catch up to that fastball. That's why it's so important. If you're going to throw that heater into him, you either throw it down and away or way up and in.
Here's the 3-2 and the 8th pitch of the at bat. Popped him up. Corky turns, and all Ramirez can do is drop his hat, his helmet, and his gloves and head to short because Corky Miller ended this threat with this throw. winning pitcher last night. A little bit of fun on the bench. Let's check the U.S. Bank starting lineup for Dusty Baker and the Reds. Guess what? First time ever 2 Drews have been on the same team in the same lineup at the same time in Major League history. Drew Stubbs will lead it off. Drew Sutton will hit behind him. Sutton, the switch hitter, plays short. Joey Votto hits third. Brandon Phillips rolling at third. Gomes, Valentine, Corky Miller behind the plate, and Bailey bats in the 9th spot. And here's the big right-hander for the Florida Marlins, a guy who's got a pretty good breaking ball, Chris.
Well, a big, tall right-hander from 6'5", 205 pounds or so. Rick Van den Hurk from Eindhoven, Netherlands will take them out. He's just 24 years old, a big guy that throws hard. He's got a good breaking ball, but a guy that will run up his pitch count just a little bit. 40 innings you see in the 8 starts that he has had.
2-2, an ERA of 4.65. There's a rocket shot off the bat of Stubbs, caught by Ramirez. Here's your 4 defensive alignment. You see Hanley Ramirez at short. He had a streak of 56 games errorless ended this week. He's been outstanding defensively. In the outfield, Coghlan, normally a second baseman, plays left. Maben, the youngster, in center. Ross's Gold Glove caliber moves to right. Cantu, Ramirez, Ugla, and Johnson across the infield, and John Baker gets the start behind the plate. That's your forward defensive alignment. We talk often, Chris, about Hanley Ramirez and his offense. You talk to Andy Fox, who's one of the coaches on this club and the infield coach, and he said he's been so impressed not just by the offense. Here's a fly ball to left. Coghlan back. He'll squeeze it 2 away. But by the aggressiveness of Hanley at short. He's charging balls more. We saw him do that last night. He's shown great range, and 56 games without an error at short's big time.
Well, you know what? Especially when you combine that with a batting average that leads the National League in hitting. I mean, if you've got a guy who's offensively as talented as Ramirez is, you'll take a couple of hiccups on defense somewhere. In fact, sometimes teams will take a guy like that and they'll immediately put him in the outfield saying, hey, you know, we want you to concentrate on hitting. Don't worry about your defense. But he's a good enough all-around player to give you plenty. And he is showing that to the Marlins this year.
There's Joey Votto in at 303, 21 homers, now 70 knocked in. Votto last night in the first inning walked. He ended up walking in the 7th. He wound up 0 for 2, but that first inning walk prolonged the rally. An inning where the Reds got a leadoff homer from Darnell McDonald, a double from Giannis, a walk to Votto, then the single by Bruce that plated the 2 of them, and the Reds had a 3-0 lead. Well, the average bouncing back for Joey now to 303 after being over 300 all year. He dipped under 300 on the most recently completed road trip after a end of July and month of August where he hit in the low 200s. There's a new hitting streak for Joe. A solid line drive into left, a base hit for the Reds' first baseman.
Well, it's always a good sign, not only for Joey Votto, but any hitter. When you hit the ball solidly going the other way, it means you're waiting on it, you're confident, you can get that bat around. And Van den Hurk puts that ball on the outer part of the plate. Votto takes what he will get, and that's a line drive to left field.
So a 2-out base hit, and here comes Brandon Phillips at 279, 20 homers, 89 knocked in, with Votto down at first. While Joey's hitting streak was snapped last night, Brandon's wasn't. He now has an 8-game hitting streak and has hit near 400 during that streak. That's fouled off. Last night, Phillips had a double in the 5th inning. And the Reds thought they had an insurance run when Rolen followed with a line drive to right center that Brett Carroll made a diving, stumbling catch of, a brilliant catch to rob Rolen of extra bases and rob the Reds of a run. As it turned out, they didn't need it. They still won 3-2. Matt Maloney acquitted himself very fine, thank you, with last night's performance. 5 innings, allowing only 2 runs, and you could see by his relaxed nature on the bench, Chris, on that shot with Hannigan and Giannis, that day after your first major league win. It's kind of neat, isn't it?
Well, nothing like the day after your first major league win. Obviously, he's basking in it. He pitched some pretty good games prior to that and really deserved maybe to get a win earlier in his career. But he's just happy to get one in, and also to be able to toil and work at the major league level, trying to get into the minds of Walt Jocketty and Dusty Baker, saying, hey, don't forget about me for next year. He was very impressive in his last start. That was 10 days ago for Matt Maloney out in Colorado. He was taken out of the ball game because he had a blister on his finger, and it was a bad blister. It took him a while to heal, but you know what? To be as sharp as he was with 9 or 10 days off, that was remarkable.
He hasn't stopped smiling since he sat down there.
Yeah, believe me, he won't stop smiling for a while.
And by the way, Chris, we asked him about that chin. We took a look at it today. What a pretty good welt on that right chin from getting nailed with the line drive last night. And when we asked him to check on it, a couple of his teammates came over. Come on, you got to charge those balls more often, you know.
That's why they call them shin burgers.
You're not kidding. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Brandon. Popped up right side. Nick Johnson calling. He'll squeeze it. That'll do it. Reds get a hit. Nothing to show for it in the bottom of 1. We're going to the second. Cantu will lead it off. Phillips to second. Standing month of pitching on the Red starting rotation. Chris, is there a key to it?
The key to velocity? Well, you got to have some talent. I think that's the biggest thing. But I think the other thing is timing and staying back over the rubber and trying not to rush to the plate. And it's so common for young pitchers to just try to overthrow. And Homer's been so much better when he relaxes over the rubber. I mean, when he stands over that rubber and keeps his balance back there as long as he can, right there before he drives to the plate. That's the difference between throwing hard and where you want to, and flying open and throwing the ball all over the place.
Your Elkin Oak storylines brought to you by Elkin Oak, serious lawyers for serious injuries. And yes, velocity, improved velocity, solid velocity has been the key to better pitching. Here's Cantu. Jorge at 278, 15 homers, 87 knocked in. He's been a career 300 hitter against the Reds and here at Great American Ballpark. Reds kept him quiet last night, 0 for 4. Native of McAllen, Texas, and of course Homer also a native of Texas. Jorge kind of looks like a Ranger, doesn't he?
Well, you know, he was raised on a ranch with 240,000 scared chickens. Once the word got around the chicken coop that he could throw 98 miles an hour, they were really scared. Big pile of gravel in the driveway. It's a bad combination.
In the corner, just missing. Your home plate umpire Adrian Johnson tonight. Darrell Cousins down at first, Jim Joyce at second, and Bill Miller your third base umpire. National League activity tonight. Washington leads the Mets 2-0 in the second. Pittsburgh leads San Diego 3-1 in the first. Everything else still to come. The standings picture in the wild card hunt still very much alive. Colorado 3.5 over San Francisco. Atlanta 4.5, and these Marlins 5 games back start to play tonight. Danny Ugla, the power hitting second base, sitting in the on deck circle. 3-2 slap foul. Hope you're with us last night. We had a great visit with Aaron Harang, talking about his season, the Red season, and looking ahead to 2010. Here's the 3-2. When we asked him about Homer Bailey, the difference? Confidence. Confidence in himself and belief in himself, and that's helped make him a different pitcher here in 2009. Cantu, a leadoff base hit in the second. A reminder, when the Reds get it done with a run batted in this season, that means another $25 from Shakely goes to the Reds Community Fund. Shakely, it's done. Here's Danny Ugla in at 246. 1 home run away from a 30 home run series. A power pack second baseman. Also has 80 knocked in on the season. Big week last week. He had 3 home runs to close to within the 30 home run plateau. Had a big home run against the Cardinals to pace them to a 2-1 victory in St. Louis. And it's one of those guys, Chris, that, I mean, even if you throw it at his shoot tops, he'll still hit it out of the park.
Well, you know, he's just a powerful guy, but you better to throw it at his shoot tops than inside on him, because he's got strong arms, very short arms, and a short swing. These guys that are built like that, awfully tough to get inside on. In fact, Maloney was so good last night with a lot of these Marlins because he was able to just pepper away at that outside corner, changing speeds out there. These are guys that really love to hit the fastball. You saw the way Ramirez swung around and turned on a fastball. The base hit by Jorge Cantu right there came on a low fastball. You've got to be able to change speeds, even if you throw as hard as Homer Bailey.
Two balls, 1 strike to Ugla. Now 25 or more homers for 4 straight years. He steps out, checks on the sign with the Cantu down at first leading off. Big swing, got a piece of it. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Of course, the Reds have last year's Gold Glove winner. In average, Brandon Phillips leads Danny Ugla. In home runs, Ugla leads. In RBI, Phillips leads, and in fielding percentage, of course, as you would expect, Brandon Phillips leads. But Ugla's an impact player, Chris, especially with the bat. Well,
the other thing about it is he's an impact player in the budget, at least in the checkbook when it comes to Florida Marlins. They are always cognizant of that. They've got less than $40 million invested in their payroll this year. And they're wondering, after Dan Ugla won his arbitration case last year, got him somewhere around $5 million in that deal, he can go back to arbitration again this year and maybe take a lot more money. So there's speculation about what they will do with Ugla here at the end of the year. As important as he is to this ball club, this has been a team always cognizant of where and how much they can spend.
And yes, they will get a new ballpark. The countdown is underway for a brand new park. It won't come for 2 more seasons. Next year, the year after, then the year after that, they'll have their new park down in the side of the old Orange Bowl in South Florida. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Hopped up. Is there going to be room? Phillips over. So is Votto, who's going to take charge. Joey does. He holds on. Phillips was pinched towards second with a right-handed batter plus the double play potential, had a long way to go, and Votto bails him out.
He does have a long way to go. Votto makes a nice play on this. Now, Brandon probably could have stayed on it and called him off that ball, but I think that he felt like Joey Votto had it under control at the last moment, didn't want to cause any confusion right there. So Joey Votto, unlike a lot of first basemen, can catch a pop-up. We see a lot of first basemen struggle with those. They may be able to pick it out of the dirt, but man, a lot of guys have a hard time catching them up in the air.
Yeah, the difficulty at first, your turn, especially with a runner on, and here's the number 6 hitter, John Baker. So no matter where the pop-up goes behind you, you almost have to do a 180. And by the time you do that, sometimes you lose your perspective. And the guys that can do that well are few and far between. Keith Hernandez was great at that. And come the third inning, we're going to visit with a guy who was very good at that. That's Tommy Hutton, the former Major League first baseman, now the color commentator with the Florida Marlins. We're going to flip-flop. You're going to go over there, and Tommy's going to come over here, and he'll tell some stories about you. You can tell some stories about him.
Your old player to be named later trade.
Well, Hutt was outstanding. What a defensive first baseman he was. 2 balls, no strikes. Bounce down to second. Phillips can't tag the runner. He does get it to second in time for the force. Brandon's first hope was to touch the runner and then complete the double play, but Cantu got past him. He got to second, and they will get the force there.
Well, the important thing is you get that lead runner right there, get him off of scoring position. Good stretch by Drew Sutton at the other end. The Reds do something fundamentally correct right there, going after that lead man.
Well, they get the force at second and just barely do. You saw the foot of Sutton. It's a good thing he had the long arms and the long legs. Very close play at second. So 2 away, and here comes Cody Ross. Ross last night had an 11-game hitting streak snap. Struck out twice, flied out, and popped up. He's had a tremendous year in it. 274, 22 homers, 87 knocked in. And whenever you talk about the Marlins in recent years, you talk about the payroll. Chris mentioned it. They're around 38, 39 million coming in, but Freddie Gonzalez knows that the reality of that is they're actually about 29 or 28 million, because that includes the money they're paying to players that are long gone, that are no longer on this roster. So next year, I mean, he's likely to lose possibly an Uggla. You mentioned he'll make over $5 million this year. He'll probably be $8 or $9 million next year with the numbers that he's put up. So you keep shoveling in younger players and hopeful of getting a year like you've gotten from guys like Cody Ross and Jorge Cantu. Decisions for teams that are in small or medium markets. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Look out. This will wrench your back a little.
Well, a well-placed fastball can go a long way in the eyes and the mind of a hitter. Not that you're going to intimidate major league hitters. That's very difficult to do, but you still get them to think in the back of their mind just a little bit of doubt. All you really want Cody Ross to do is pull off this next pitch just a hair.
2-2. He got him. Strikeout number 1 for Homer. 2 hits, 2 innings, nothing to show for it for the Marlins. Reds go to work. Scott Rowland will lead it off. to you by your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers. For a dealer near you, visit buyatoyota.com. By JTM, food, family, and fun. That's JTM. By Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on your car insurance. Visit us at geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. And by Jeep. The Jeep summer clearance is here. Get to your Jeep dealer today for some of the best deals of the season on a beep beep Jeep. Here's Scott Rowland on a very pleasant night at Great American Ballpark. Rowland will lead it off. 2 homers, 14 knocked in as a Red. Overall 257 as a Cincinnati third baseman. For Scott on the season, in the American League, he hit .320 and wound up with 4 homers and 26 knocked in. Talking to Freddie Gonzalez before the game. Freddie talked about the importance of Wes Helms in his ball club, how he's a policeman in the clubhouse and a leader, even though he's not necessarily one of the starting players, and that's the same role that this guy fulfills for the Reds. Bang down to short. Ramirez makes what could be a tough play look easy, and there's one away. Here's your Geico quote of the night on Hanley Ramirez. You know what he does with the bat. You saw what he does with the glove. What does Henry Aaron, the Hammer, think about him? Every time I see him, he does something that's very impressive. He's got all the tools, everything. That's the Hammer, Henry Aaron, on Hanley Ramirez. That's one of those quotes that you put in your diary, huh? When you get the Hammer to say that.
You're not kidding about that.
Johnny Gomes in at 271 with 20 homers, 49 knocked in. Ramirez signed the big multi-year deal. He's making a little over $5 million this year. And the first couple of years it doesn't go up dramatically, but when they move into the new ballpark, the last couple of years it more than doubles. Yeah, Chris, even though you have economic constraints, with what the Marlins have done, it really behooves them with moving into a new ballpark. You get to the point where you just can't keep letting your best players go, especially when you move into a new park.
Well, you know, it's almost like you have to have a perfect storm of things going the right way for you to win with such a low payroll, because you can't afford those players that have reached the peak of making a lot of money, even though they're going to be good baseball decisions to keep them. So you have to hope that you've got players coming up the pipeline, that your pitching matures at the right time, and then you get all the other players to come together and stay healthy over a 2 or 3 year span. And then you can put some people in the stands, you create some fan interest, and all of a sudden you're beginning to make some money that you can begin to repeat that. But until you get to that, that's the tough part.
But you want to keep a guy like the number 2.
Well, yeah, you have to build your franchise around somebody, or at least a group of players. And obviously, if you got a Hanley Ramirez, if you ever want to get rid of Hanley Ramirez, I'm sure that you'll have the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Dodgers and everybody else standing in line with Brinks trucks lined all the way up I-95, ready to pay you for him. I mean, he is that special of a talent.
If it's I-95 and forward, it's probably a traffic jam too, though, right?
Jammed with Brinks trucks.
Yep. Here's Vladimir Ballantyne, 272, 2 homers, 8 knocked in. Of course, the Reds' former manager and former advisor to Jim Bowden, Jack McKeon, still an advisor with the Florida Marlins. What a great guy to still have on the payroll to advise you in terms of talent and advise you regarding the future of your franchise. You know, you run into a lot of guys that have a lot of different philosophies, very few that have the big picture look, not just about baseball today, on the field, this evening, this game, but the big picture of what it takes to win. There's a ball that clips the outside corner. It's a 1-2-3 for Vandenhert. Back to work goes Bailey. He'll face Vandenhert second. Reds player hits the tundra or the sign during today's game, Dennis Cahill of Cincinnati is going to win it. Register for your chance to win during an upcoming game at your Cincinnati Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers. Joey Votto hit one about 10 feet over the sign in right center field. That's about the same place Tommy Hutton did one at Riverfront Stadium back a few years ago. Great to have Tommy Hutton with us as we flip-flop our analyst. Hut, great to have you with us. Good to see you again.
George, a pleasure. We've known each other over 40 years and never had a chance to work with each other.
We're both, what, 2 years old when we met?
Yeah. Somewhere in that neighborhood.
You're right. We go back to the days in Los Angeles. You were a signee coming up in the Dodgers system, and we've been talking about the last couple of days. One of the best defensive first basemen I ever came across. And boy, you had a bunch of guys at that point in time that were outstanding in the Dodger organization.
You know, coming up with guys like Buckner and Garvey and Say and Lopes and Bobby Valentine, there was a lot of talent. Yeah.
And some, it's a pretty good organization too. I mean,
well, you know, you kind of get spoiled. You learn how to play the game, and at that time we thought that was the right way, and I still think it is. I don't know if it's taught that much anymore, but we felt that was the right way to learn how to play the game, and that's the way we advanced.
And the same thing that the Marlins have done, rebuilding not once but twice after championships. And here's one of the young people who's the key to the future. Cameron Maben will lead it off, facing Homer Bailey here in the third inning. Vander Hurk will follow. Maben, we've seen him in the last couple of years. We saw him in spring training. It looks like the swing is getting a little tighter. Still some work to be done.
George, you'd like what he's done because he's a young player that started the year on the Marlins team, struggled. But when he went down, he worked on some things, and he shortened up his stroke. He got a little better knowledge of the strike zone, identifying pitches better, and because of that, he hit near 320 in AAA, and he's shown that since he's come back.
Fouls this one off, 1 ball and 2 strikes to the young center fielder. Came over from the Detroit Tigers in the Cabrera deal, and a young man who, you really, when you make a deal like that, you expect to get something in return.
Well, the two the premier guys, Cameron Maben and Andrew Miller, have yet to reach their potential. The guy who's had the most success has been Burke Badenhop, coming over from Detroit to the Marlins.
Got to play the game, right? It's not about potential and tools.
Well, of course, we know what Miggy's done over with the Tigers.
Yep. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Homer going to work on the number 8 hitter for the Florida Marlins. We visit with Tommy Hutton, not only a 12-year major leaguer and an outstanding one, but a guy that's been in the broadcast booth throughout his post-baseball career. And I know that you've had some moments that you'll never forget on the field, but you've had some wonderful moments in the broadcast booth for the Marlins too.
Oh, I sure have. My first year as a Marlins television analyst was 1997. When they won their first World Series.
So you were the good luck charm.
I kind of like to think it that way because I came over from Toronto and I'd been there in '92 and '93.
And maybe again this year. You know, you're talking about the potential of getting into the picture again as a wild card team, most likely, if you get in. And in this day and age, it doesn't make any difference how you get in. Just find a way to get in. Here's Maben, right center field. That'll drop in front of Stubbs for a base hit. The leadoff hitter on in the third.
Well, there's a perfect example of what Cameron Maben went down to work on. And for the 3rd inning in a row, the Marlins get the leadoff man on.
Yeah, well, don't tell us about that. We've seen enough of Chris Coughlin in the last 2 nights. He's been on every time he's been on. Here's the wild card picture going into tonight. The Marlins now 5 games back. They've won 14 of your last 18, but still tough to pick up ground on Jim Tracy and the Rockies, huh?
Well, it seems like every time the Marlins have gotten on a little stretch, the Rockies were in their terror. Now Atlanta all of a sudden is playing great baseball, so they're just a few too many teams ahead.
As Vander Hurk showing bunt, pops it up, it'll go foul.
But you mentioned the wild card. In both years the Marlins won the World Series. In '03 and '97 they were the wild card team.
2 completely different teams, but in the same respect 2 teams who were similar in some respects, that they had leadership and fiber in addition to ability.
And some interesting managers, Jim Leland and Jack McKeon.
We were just talking about Jack the last inning. Popped up again, fouled off again into the seats.
I know how Jack is revered here in Cincinnati, and we know how he's so well liked in South Florida too. You
know, it's refreshing to still get the look of a manager. I mean, You came up in the Dodger organization where Walter Alston was the manager, then Tommy Lasorda took over. Men that have a big view of the game, not just a small view. They're showing bunt again, and he drops a hammer on him for strike 3. So inability to move the runner over. Little things, get him on, get him over, get him in. And as your club has struggled this week to score runs, you won the series in St. Louis, but not with a lot of runs. That's a big at bat.
Yeah, and last night that came into play too in the 3rd inning. The Marlins had the leadoff double, a hit batter, first and second, nobody on, and couldn't get a run across. But that was a tough pitch though to bunt too. That big curveball.
The guy you knew full well, Tom Seaver, used to say that if in a sacrifice situation, I'll give the hitter, whether it's a pitcher or not, one fastball down the middle. You got your chance to bunt. If not, I'm going to punch you out.
Yeah, that's right.
How about this guy? We've been impressed by a lot of young players this year, but this young man may be at the top of the list, Chris Coghlan.
Well, what's amazing, here's a guy that has more hits, not just from any rookie, from any major league player since the All-Star break. So that's how he's come on the scene. He's learned a new position. He'd never played left field before. He'd never hit leadoff before. And here he is in the big leagues, and he's done both of those and has a real good chance, I think, to be Rookie of the Year.
It's a late charge. I mean, Jay Happ certainly was the front runner, but the time that he spent on the sideline certainly has changed the whole picture. Leading off first is Maben. There's a line drive coming in, and guess what? The Reds finally retire him.
See, it took a line drive and a diving catch.
Man, Valentine makes a fine catch, or else this guy would have had his 6th straight hit against the Reds.
He just has such a smooth, solid approach. He'll hit the ball to left, center, and right. And I really think as he gets a little older, he'll probably throw in a little more power and hit some home runs. But just a tremendous young hitter.
By the way, you can tell him, Mark Wagner is sitting next to us up here, Daddy Wags, and Wags did some research after the game last night. That guy right there is the first guy in his first game at Great American Ballpark to have a perfect 4 for 4 night. Nobody has ever done that in this park prior to last night.
Well, he has more 4-hit games than any rookie this year, too.
So Maben, who's got some speed, can steal a base. Now with 2 outs, might they send him with Johnson at the plate? Nick bounced back to the pitcher first time up. Inability to move the runner from second to third ended up costing the Marlins in that first inning.
One little area, George, where Cameron Maben needs to work on is base stealing. He has good speed. You've seen guys over their careers that have good speed but aren't really good base stealers. And I think he'd like to leave the hole open for Nick Johnson,
who, when he's right, will ground the ball down that way a lot. And when he's healthy, he's an outstanding, productive hitter. But Nick Johnson's had one injury after another in the last 4 years. It really has cut his productivity. But you see a swing coming back in the last couple of months, don't you? Yeah,
and I think he's been really instrumental to Chris Coghlan, with the 2 of them batting back to back.
Not just on the field, but off the field too, also. Huh?
Yeah. The other thing about that hole open, I think if it gets to a 2-strike count, you might see Maben go, but we've also seen Corky Miller throw.
Maben off first, 1 ball, 1 strike. It took a perfect throw from Corky to nail Coghlan trying to go second to third. That breaking ball clips the corner, and it's 1-2. Reds just acquired Scott Rowland down at third. The likes of Nick Johnson and Wes Helms, Ross Gload helped to make this team better too, don't they?
Yeah, you like to get that veteran influence. I was going to ask you, how much of an influence do you think Scott Rowland has had on this Reds club? Because that's really when they started to take off. And not just the way he plays, but the way he carries himself, the little things that he does, and the little words that are left at the doorstep of a player. There goes Maben with the 2-2. Here comes the throw. He's going to be out. Another perfect throw. Don't blame Maben. He got a good break. But a perfect throw from Miller. 2 for 2 and throwing out runners. Both throws have been El Perfecto.
Hey, Reds fans, gear up for the new school year with Back to School Aid presented by Fuel TV and Time Warner Cable. Simply text tonight's keyword KC to 37664. You could win a $150 cash card plus a Fuel TV prize package. For official rules and an alternate form of entry, go to foxsports.com/Ohio. Here's Corky, first pitch swinging down the left field line. Coughlin over. He's got it, one away.
Now, is that keyword for Sean Casey?
That's it.
Okay.
That's the case man. The case man will be coming into town tomorrow to help celebrate a new Miracle Field in honor of Joe Nuxall, and always good to see Case.
I thought he was coming into town to celebrate Oktoberfest.
He'll do that too. Guaranteed. What a special guy. And you talk about people that influence a team, and the Reds had guys like Sean Casey, Barry Larkin, Aaron Boone, go down the list, Scott Sullivan, and all of a sudden they were gone. And that's one of the reasons why Scott Rowland is in town, to try to help solidify a clubhouse once again with young players coming up. And you've seen that happen time and time again through your career.
Overlooked so often. You can put together a team that has tremendous talent, but you need a little more than that sometimes.
Here's Homer. You talk about your young pitchers growing up, and you got one of the best in Josh Johnson, and it's the same story for Homer. Throws hard, and little by little he's growing up, he's maturing as a pitcher and as a man too. Yeah,
it's really been fun to watch him pitch. Heard a lot about him. Haven't had a chance to see Homer Bailey, and good curveball, good live fastball. Talked to Dick Pole about him a little bit, and he was just reveling in the words he had. Talked about his split, his change that he uses.
Did you talk to your old teammate Chris Spire about him?
Oh yeah, I didn't talk about pitching though.
You picked a few out of the dirt for him. There's a swing and a miss. Homer retired.
You talk about a solid shortstop. Chris Spire is one of those shortstops. Not flashy. He'd give you some power. 14, 15 home runs. Make the routine play. Could play AstroTurf. Could play dirt. Just a solid major league player. Had a great career.
You were one of the best defensive first basemen that I ever saw. Of course, you came up in an era when the Dodgers had Wes Parker too, who was brilliant right before you. What's your advice to a guy like a Joey Votto, a young first baseman coming up defensively, how to learn the position, how to handle yourself?
There's so many little things. You got to get to the bag quickly. So if you don't have quick feet and you're not real fast, you can't play way off the bag. If you have a little speed, you can cover a little more ground. Footwork's important at first base always. I think Nick Johnson has struggled with that a little bit since he broke his ankle.
There's Drew Stubbs, pop to short first time up. Tommy, the big question obviously that we ask and everybody in South Florida is asking, will the new ballpark be the silver bullet for your ball club?
We all sure hope so. It's going to have a retractable dome. It's going to be beautiful. If you get on the Marlins website, you can get a shot of the webcam that has the site already with things going up. And with the retractable dome, it's going to be comforting for people to go, air conditioned, and I can't wait.
Well, you're going to have batting practice every day, and you're going to have a game.
Yeah, you're right. Batting practice so often in South Florida for home games is taken in the cages inside because that's when the afternoon rains come.
Drew Stubbs a base hit. Stubbs got last night off just really to take a breather. He played every game since coming up. A fine young outfield prospect. He's on with 2 outs, and here comes Drew Sutton.
I know that Dusty Baker likes Drew Stubbs. He told me so yesterday. We're talking around the batting cage.
Yeah, a young man he stole 46 bases down at AAA. And again, like you talk about Cameron Maben, he's got that long loopy stride, but little by little he's becoming an outstanding base stealer. And his speed translates to baseball. Some guys are fast, but not in baseball speed. He is, and defensively, he's about as good as he gets in center field for the Reds.
And some guys that are fast think slow, which isn't good all the time.
He went to the University of Texas, so he came out of a pretty good baseball program. 1 ball, Stubbs off first, and Sutton at the plate.
One thing that has troubled Marlins pitchers all year, Vandenherk's a little better at it, but Marlins pitching has allowed more stolen bases than any staff. A lot of big guys that are slow to the plate.
You can't blame that on these catchers.
No.
2 balls, no strikes. Runner not going. Vandenherk, everybody talks about the World Baseball Classic, and You know, he had a little bump in the road after the World Baseball Classic, but all things said, he had the chance to be with one of his idols, being from the Netherlands, Bert Blyleven.
He benefited greatly working with Blyleven and also pitching in some stressful, tense games. It really helped him. Which is interesting because you and I know Blyleven had one of the best curveballs of any pitcher. Yet Vandenhert has kind of gotten away from that and uses his slider a little bit more.
He used to have a bigger curveball than he has now.
We used to call it the Holland Hammer.
That's it. Bird had maybe the best of his generation, didn't he? What a breaking ball he had.
One of the best I ever saw. Yeah.
And we talk about it often, and you know, Chris and I believe very strongly that Andre Dawson, who works with the Marlins now, is a Hall of Famer, and I think he'll get in this year.
I think he will too.
Bert Blyleven, is he a Hall of Famer in your book? I agree.
He is.
I agree. Hall of Fame caliber. There goes the runner. Here comes the throw. Going to be high. Going to be an easy stolen base. Drew Stubbs picks up another bag. He's in scoring position for the Reds.
Well, you talked about it. A quick jump and a good jump. A little slow in the delivery from John Baker, but an easy stolen base for Stubbs.
Well, the Reds have a runner in scoring position for Sutton, and it's a full count, 3-2.
George, I hope you're right there next year with Andre Dawson as he gives his speech.
I think we all are looking forward to it, and he came within striking distance. Where he is right now is where Jim Rice was, and you figure that next year he'll be there.
Yeah, I had a chance to be a teammate of Andre's for 3.5 years in Montreal, and you talk about a guy who was great in the clubhouse, who set examples just by what he did and the way he approached the game.
And had it not been for playing in Montreal with the bad knees and playing on that turf, his numbers would have been even more impressive than they are.
I can picture Andre Dawson every night after the game sitting in the training room with ice bags on both knees.
Or when the year he went to Chicago, being there at 2 o'clock in the afternoon in the tub.
With Buckner.
Yeah. Billy just loved being there. Full count again, 3-2. Stubbs off second. That's a base hit. Here comes Stubbs around third. Here comes the throw from left, from right. It'll be wide, and scoring will be Drew Stubbs. Cody Ross came up throwing, and Ross has been outstanding defensively. With Stubbs' speed, unlikely he's going to get him. And when the throw went to the foul side of home plate, it gives Drew Stubbs a run batted in, a run scored, and gives Drew Sutton his 8th run batted into the season.
Well, these Drews can confuse you, but they both hit the ball hard. This time it's Sutton driving in Stubbs. Cody Ross had the ball right about the time Stubbs got to third base, but the throw was a little offline. Even if it's on target, I don't think they get it.
And Ross has played great outfield for you this year, hasn't he?
He's played Gold Glove center field and right field, wherever you put him.
So the Reds take a lead 1-0. Good at bat by Drew Sutton, and he's come up with a few of those in the last week. A young man who came over from the Houston organization in the Jeff Keppinger deal. Battled 3-2, and on 2-2 the base was stolen. Then he delivered with the run scoring hit. Here's Joey, who singled the left first time up. You like this guy at the plate?
You got to like Joey Votto in your lineup. We were talking, Rich Waltz and I, on our telecast. You put him in a lineup that's maybe even surrounded with more veteran guys, and it's even an elevated statistics of Joey Votto.
Down to first, gobbled up by Nick Johnson, but the Reds do some 2-out business. Stubbs a single, stolen base, Sutton a single, and the Reds lead at 1-0. Hut, great to see you. Best of luck.
George,
to
thanks.
Marlins.
All right, good to see you. Now you got to put up with Chris.
Tommy Hutton joining us. We'll be back with more. movie. This is the way it's gone this week. First round, second round, third round. The Natural, The Sandlot, Bull Durham, Field of Dreams. And for our final round, there's a ground ball down to short, gobbled up by Sutton. He'll take care of it, and there's one away. You can text 1 for The Natural, 2 for Sandlot, 3 for Bull Durham, 4 for Field of Dreams. Also visit Fox Sports Ohio's Facebook page at facebook.com/Fox Sports Ohio to comment on your favorite movie. We'll read some of the posts during Reds Live post-game show. This should be a good one. How about this? The Sandlot's off and running again. The Natural, The Sandlot. An upset winner was the Sandlot over Bad News Bears, Major League, and a league of their own. That was on Tuesday. Bull Durham and Field of Dreams. You know, you can't really go wrong. They're all pretty good, and they all brought moments for all of us.
Well, they wouldn't be in the finals if they weren't all great movies.
Daddy Wags, you got a favorite? Sandlot? Jesse Jackson? Crime and Punishment? What? The Sandlot still with 43%. How about this? Field of Dreams getting a few more, up to 38%. Keep voting, and we'll keep tabulating for you. Well, here's the big guy, Hanley Ramirez, who popped up first time up. Well, we figured out a way to get Chris Coughlin out. We had to get Hutton in here. He hit the ball right on the button again, but it wasn't a base hit.
Yeah, even his outs are tough outs. Sliding, diving catch by the outfielder. Guy is remarkable.
That's up and away to Hanley. He'll be followed by Jorge Cantu. You know, I get the feeling, you and I were, we talked about this with Christian Roberts about this whole process earlier in the year. We were debating movies. Christian had the great idea of coming up with the text poll tabulation. There's a fly ball to right. Gomes will pick it off his shoe tops, and there's 2 away. But, the more you look at this, you had to figure out that Christian had a diabolical plan to get down to these Final Four. Don't you think that?
I think probably so. Everything he does, he has some kind of a conspiratorial, just kind of that type of an effort.
Yep.
And
kind of like Watergate.
I think he wanted to know what ahead of time what the Final Four would be. Kind of like those schedule makers when they make the big dance in March Madness. And they send all those different seeds different places. They're looking to try to boost the TV ratings at the end of March, and Christian Roberts is on the same page.
I've never heard him stutter, but he's stuttering right now. You locked him up. We got him locked up. Here's Cantu, singled right back in the second inning. 2 away. Homer trying to mow him down here in the 4th. Your finals. The Natural, Sandlot, Bull Durham, and Field of Dreams.
All right, pick one, George.
I love them all.
Oh,
my big one was.
No room for diplomacy.
I'm still banging the drum slowly. I lost the first night. That was one of my favorite all-timers. And there were not, for our veteran Reds fans, there was nothing like William Bendix and the Babe Ruth story, or the pride of the Yankees.
Yeah.
There are some Big Red Machine fans from that era in the 50s and 60s, and you still watch those. We'll be on the road sometimes, and I'll still watch those old timers.
The Jackie Robinson story, starring Jackie Robinson.
Yep. And Walter O'Malley.
Yeah.
Amazing. That's the great thing about baseball. It's the great thing about in movies. Is there one greatest movie of all time? No, but it's great to debate them. It's great to pick one. I was surprised. Were you surprised that Sandlot outdistanced the Bad News Bears, Major League, and a league of their own?
No, Sandlot has almost a cult following among young kids.
Yep.
And we've been watching that movie in our household for years and years. And, it's sitting up on the shelf, and we'll watch it once a year just for the heck of it. And it just doesn't get old. That's one scary dog, though.
And anybody that's had kids and anybody that's played baseball, there's so many lines in that movie
that
just get repeated time and time again, not just in the movie, but in homes, on fields, in parks. Pretty neat. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Yes, missing everybody. Third, short, second, first was 2 steps towards the dugout.
Yeah,
so was Homer.
The quick look by Jorge Cantu back at the home plate umpire Adrian Johnson. He's listening. Didn't hear strike 3.
Full count, 3-2. They got him up there. A second life for Jorge. But Homer takes care of him. Reds still lead at 1-0 heading to the bottom of 4.
Hi, Mark. Nice to meet you.
Back at Great American Ballpark, time for our, you got it, the Aflac trivia question. Whose autograph was on the ball hit over the fence in the Sandlot? Aha. I know Mark Wagner knows the answer to that. Whose autograph was on the ball hit over the fence in the Sandlot? Our Aflac trivia question. Answer coming up for you as we prepare for the bottom of the 4th inning. Brandon Phillips will lead it off. Scott Rowland and Johnny Gomes will follow. 4, 5, and 6 for the Reds, who lead it 1-0. Hits are even at 3. And the Reds get a run on a run-scoring hit from Drew Sutton. Now we're very pleased to welcome to Fox Sports Ohio the new women's basketball coach at the University of Cincinnati, Jamel Elliott. Jamel, congratulations to you.
Thank you very much, George. I'm happy to be here.
Great to have you with us.
Thank you. This is a beautiful night for baseball. I know Cincinnati is a great sports town. I'm glad to be a great addition to the town, and I'm hoping that some of these Reds fans will make it over to UC for a women's basketball game this year.
You'll get them over there. For those of you that don't know, Jamel comes from great pedigree. She was with Gino Auriemma at the University of Connecticut, a great player there. As an assistant coach, 12 years, you went back and forth to the Final Four year after year. And there's a liner caught by Cantu down at third. So Phillips is retired. There's one away. By the way, Brandon Phillips, you know his sister, Portia.
Oh, sure. Sure, of course. Good player.
She's a big-time player.
I wish I had her now.
Yes. How is recruiting going? How's it going?
Recruiting is going really well. I've been fortunate enough to have 2 commitments in this 2010 class. So, things are moving right along. We're progressing. I've hired a great staff, and we're out on the recruiting trails as we speak. I was actually at a high school today.
No one, Chris, will outwork her. That's one thing I'd say.
We love hard workers here, but we also love winners here. And how big a challenge is it for you?
Well, obviously, I took the job in the best conference in the country, the Big East Conference, with teams like UConn and Ooh, that ball almost came up here. I should have my
Get
mitt
your
up
glove. You got your dad here. Didn't he always tell you to bring your glove?
I know. But I think, being in the best conference in the country, I think that alone is going to be a challenge for us. Last year we finished 15th out of 16th in the conference, so I think that's one of the reasons why I'm here to, bring some of the experience that I had at UConn and, the championships that I won. But I'm excited to be here. I got a group of players that work extremely hard. The community has been great. The support has been wonderful, and, I'm just happy to be here.
Jamel, what did you learn from Gino Auriemma about motivation?
Well, I think the main thing is he instilled in us to do everything right, and to work hard every day, to compete every day, to make sure you do things the way you would want things to be done if it was your own. And he had us invest in what we was doing, and you can see it on the basketball court. And those are some of the things that I'm going to try to bring here to Cincinnati. And one thing that for sure, we're not going to be outworked, and we're going to be just as competitive as anybody that we play against.
I was with Bob Huggins the other day, a great men's coach, and in the past, and he said, boy, I like already what Jamel is doing. And I told him, I said, if you were recruiting, you would recruit Jamel Elliott because you recruited competitors.
That's right. I've actually had a chance to see Bob at a clinic about a month and a half ago in Springfield, Massachusetts. And, you can just tell his guys really competed in practice, and I was able to pick up some drills from him, as other great coaches out there. So a lot of that's going to be incorporated in our practices for sure.
What you're saying is you're going to have tough practices.
Yes. Tough and competitive.
How do you like it in Cincinnati so far?
Oh, it's been a great town. This is my second Reds game I've been to. I'm looking forward to going to a Bengals game. This is definitely a sports town. I'm originally from Washington, D.C., so this is something that reminds me of home, and I'm just hoping that, the professional teams are successful this year, and hopefully the UC women's and men's basketball team and the football team has gotten off to a great start, so we've been doing pretty good so far.
I know we hear so many great things about Brian Kelly, how he embraces people, not just in the football program, but basketball too.
Absolutely. When, my first couple days on the job, actually, Brian Kelly was down in my office, and he spent about 15 or 20 minutes with me and just telling me some different things to look forward to and how much he's going to be supporting me and helping me out. And, for somebody like that to come and kind of reach out to me my first couple days at the job, you can't say enough about that.
That's Jamel Elliott, the new women's basketball coach at the University of Cincinnati. George Grant, Chris Welsh, and Jamel. Johnny Gomes, who bounced out first time up at the plate. Popped up to the right side. Over is the second baseman, Ugly. He'll give away to Ross. We'll continue to visit with Jamel after these messages. Reds lead it 1-0. Tonight, Jamel, we've been bantering about the top baseball movies of all time, and one of them, of course, that we zeroed in on is The Sandlot. And our question tonight, Chris, you remember whose autograph was on the ball hit over the fence in The Sandlot? Daddy Wags, I know you know the answer to that.
That's got to be Babe Ruth, right?
You're pretty good. Pretty good.
Bingo.
I love that.
I'm still trying to remember the name of the dog, though. What was the name of the dog? Hercules.
Hercules.
Hercules left a little slobber on that autograph.
That's right. Kind of remembered you as Shotzi a little bit, right? That's our Aflac trivia answer for tonight. Back to work. Homer Bailey as we head to the top of the 5th inning. Dan Ugla, outstanding offensive second baseman, takes over, and we continue to visit with Jamel Elliott, the new women's basketball coach at the University of Cincinnati. I know, Jamel, you and Mick Cronin have put together, along with the whole department, a basketball caravan that's coming up for you. Yeah, Mick and I will be out 5 Mondays in a row in October, just going out to different sites in the community and talking about UC men's and women's basketball, so as many people as will hear us and try to get the excitement going to have the fans come out to the games and support the UC Bearcats. It's going to be fun, and any information on that will be on www.bearcats.com. Go Bearcats.com. Mick's first class, isn't he? Yeah, he's a great guy. He's another guy that I've had a couple conversations with since I've taken a job, and him and I are going to be working really close together, and I'm definitely going to be participating or at least viewing a couple of his practices for sure. Your practices, you talk about what you did at the University of Connecticut, and I mean, I've seen your practices, especially the way you run the women's practice with playing against men. Sure. Which means you get better, your players get tougher, and they're ready for competition. Absolutely. I think one of the things that I've learned from Coach Oriyama is if you make your practices tougher than the games, once you get in the games, you're prepared, and nothing will surprise you. So my motto is going to be to try to make it as physically and mentally tough as possible in practice, so once the games come, they'll be prepared for anything. So in other words, look out, Chris, right?
No, you know what? I don't think I'm ready to go compete in there at all. I do have a question, though. Why is it that in women's NCAA basketball, so few teams dominate every year? I mean, it happens to a certain extent in the men's sport as well. But every once in a while, you're going to have a wild card in there that may run to the Final Four out of nowhere. But it just seems like it's kind of predictable, the top teams in the country year after. Is it because there's not as much talent? Why is that?
Well, I think it's getting better. I think 4, 5, 6 years ago, that was definitely the case with Connecticut and Tennessee winning almost every championship. But I think the last few years, I think the parity in women's college basketball is getting better and better. And a prime example of that was last year when Ball State was able to upset Tennessee in the first round of the NCAA tournament. So I think as years go and girls basketball becomes bigger and girls start to play at a younger age, I think you'll see more of that.
How's the talent level around Cincinnati in girls basketball?
Oh, the talent level is unbelievable. I was just talking to George about, one of my focus in recruiting is to try to stay in the state of Ohio, because, the talent here women's basketball-wise is known nationally. So if I can just keep a few of the recruits here in the state of Ohio, preferably around the Cincinnati area, I think I'll be improved overnight.
Great.
Gino Auriemma is in the Basketball Hall of Fame. Pat Summitt in the Basketball Hall of Fame. This year, Vivian Stringer inducted in the Basketball Hall of Fame. Those are 3 pretty good coaches, aren't they?
They're 3 great coaches, and 2 of them in the Big East Conference, where I have to compete day in and day out. But I've worked out on one of them. I have great respect for Pat Summitt as well as Vivian Stringer, and I can only hope that once my basketball head coaching career is over, that I can be just as good as them, if even a little bit. But I know one thing for sure: I've definitely gained a lot of my knowledge of coaching from those 3 guys.
What's your schedule look like?
Well, today I was at a high school, and we're on the road recruiting until the first week of October, and then we start practice the middle of October, and before you know it, the games will be here. But that's the fun part, getting on the court and working with my players and spending time with them on and off the court. That's the reason why I enjoy being a coach so much.
Your Big East schedule looks tough.
Yeah, I'm opening up 3 of my 4 games. I have Louisville, Rutgers, and Connecticut. So there you go. That's the rookie hazing from the Big East Conference. But it should be fun. It should prepare us for some games later on down the road, and we'll just get better and learn from those games. And who knows what will happen.
You've had at the University of Connecticut, you built a history of some great battles, and the tradition of UConn and Tennessee, which now is going away, unfortunately. UConn and Stanford, so on and so forth. Do you hope to do the same thing with your non-conference games here?
I would love to. I think, if you play some competitive non-conference games, especially going into conference play in the Big East Conference, I think you can only be prepared. If you play some teams that are kind of subpar under, in the preseason, then you don't want to get that false hope going into the Big East Conference tournament because, think you're a good team, and you're not, because you haven't really faced a lot of competition. So it's going to be a balance once we're doing our scheduling. But, from a mental and physical standpoint, we'll be prepared.
After a walk to Danny Ugla, John Baker struck out by Homer Bailey, there's one out, one on. Here comes Cody Ross. And we continue to visit with Jamel Elliott, the new women's basketball coach at the University of Cincinnati. Now, you've been a couple of games here. You went to a Bengals game. You grew up in Washington. I know you're a big Redskins fan. You're always a big Redskins fan.
I'm a huge Redskins fan. We didn't do too good on opening day, but so now I'm a Washington Redskins fan and a Bengals fan for sure.
Fortunately, they're not in the same division, right?
Fortunately, yeah.
I know you learned a lot about athletics through your love, not just for basketball, but football too. I know that you have a lot to thank. Your career at UConn, 4 years, 12 years as a coach, but goes back to home and your dad too.
Yeah, my dad, he actually came up to visit me for the first time, and he wanted to make sure everybody was taking care of me here in Cincinnati. So him and a cousin of mine came up today, and they're going to spend the weekend. And this is the first thing I did. I brought them to a Reds game. So thanks to you, George, they're enjoying their trip so far. I appreciate it.
We're happy you could bring them here.
Thank you.
And we're happy to have you in Cincinnati too. There's Cody Ross, who struck out first time up. Homer working from the stretch with Ugla down at first. Reds would love to roll up a double play, and inning ender right here.
All right, give us a preview of the team this year. You're going to play a little run and gun style. You're going to be a little bit bigger in the middle. What style of play can we expect to see?
Well, I think we're going to do a little bit of everything. You don't want to be one of those teams where you just get caught up in doing one thing, and then in today's age, everybody has film on you and they're able to scout you a little more. So we're going to do a little bit of everything. But one thing's for sure, we're going to work hard every day, and we're going to be prepared every day, and we're going to come out and compete every day. So who knows who's going to be the most talented player on the team and who's going to step up. But I know one thing for sure, we're going to play as a team. So that's something that my team is already bought into and they're looking forward to. And I'm around a great bunch of girls who want to have a great season and be successful. And they just have a great heart, and they've been through a lot with I'm their third coach in the last 3 years. So I'm doing a lot of love right now and establishing a lot of relationships. And I think once we get on the court, everything's going to take care of itself.
What does it take to build belief? You take a look at it. That's the phone number to call for tickets. And of course, you got a big matchup with Xavier coming in December, don't you? At Xavier.
Yeah, Xavier is one of the teams that we play every year.
Yeah.
Last year we had some success with Plant. We beat them at home, and this year we go over to Xavier. But I think that's a great, we call it the crosstown shootout. I think that's a great way for the community of Cincinnati to come out and see two, really good schools play against each other in women's basketball. So that's a game that's really popular every year, and I hope it will continue to be. They have a great program over there.
I was there when Gino Auriemma's news conference took place back in 1985, I think it was, if I remember. And I remember him talking about building a winning attitude. How do you build a winning attitude in a new program?
Well, I think it starts with the players that you recruit. And once they get here, you have to, kind of set a culture. And, you want to do things the right way, whether it's in the classroom or on the court or out in the community. Not only are they representing UC women's basketball, they're representing the University of Cincinnati as a whole, and also, the state of Ohio and Cincinnati, the city. So we just want to be well-rounded people, and you want to instill in that. You just don't want to talk basketball 24 hours a day. You want to find out about them and, what makes them happy and their relationships and things like that. It's just a bigger picture than a lot of people see.
Bounce out, that ends the inning. Jamel, best of luck to you. We're happy to have you in Cincinnati. We wish you only great success.
Thank you, George. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
pages of the Greater Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky edition of the new Cincinnati Bell directories for your discount code for half-price Reds tickets. This offer valid for Monday through Thursday games for the remainder of the season, subject to availability. Visit reds.com/CBD for more information. Reds back to work. First pitch swing, and unbelievable. The fourth started with a bullet off the bat of Brandon Phillips into the glove of the third baseman Jorge Cantu, and we start the same way on this shot off the bat of Vladimir Valentin. Another line drive out. Hang with him, huh, Chris?
That is one of those nights where line drives are simply not falling in. They want to try something else. We've seen just one after another sizzlers that go right into the glove.
Phillips is saying about they're in the same team right there. What happened tonight, both of us. So one away, and here comes Corky Miller. Fly ball out to left, first time up. Homer Bailey due to follow. A run, 3 hits for the Reds. No runs, 3 hits for Florida. And Chris, we're through 5 for Homer, and once again he's right on.
Well, he is right on, George. A little better this time as far as his pitch count goes. Last couple of starts out, Homer has essentially pitch counted his way out of the ball game. But tonight, even against this very tough offensive ball club the Marlins have to offer, he's thrown his fastball right by some of their best hitters.
That's a walk to Corky. Hey, go inside the Big Ten Football Conference 4 nights a week with 4 unique shows on the Big Ten Football 4-pack. Our experts bring you game plan breakdowns, interviews, and analysis that you won't find anywhere else. Catch the Big Ten Football 4-pack every Tuesday through Friday at 10 o'clock Eastern, only on the Big Ten Network, the only cure for gridiron deficiency. Here's Homer. Expect a bunt here.
1-0 ball game, no doubt about it.
Homer struck out first time up. Charging from third, Cantu. Charging from first is Nick Johnson.
Now, the one thing you worry about if you're Dusty Baker or Homer Bailey is Homer bunting into a trap right there where you get the ball very quickly. You can throw to the second base and possibly turn this into a double play. So all the pitchers have been notified that don't butt into a trap. Go ahead and pull that bat back if you have to and slap it by him.
Tries to bunt that. Fouls it off 1-1.
The same way that Rick Vandenherk had a hard time bunting against Homer. It's not as easy as it appears, especially when you've got a big guy on the mound throwing the ball plus 90 miles an hour. Looks like a real easy assignment laying a bunt down, but believe me, not quite that simple.
You talk about it often. The one thing Homer's adjusted to, he's moved up in that box. He gets this down and it'll be a successful sacrifice. He was back in the box the first pitch, and then this last pitch that he bunts, his lead foot is out of the box. He's right where he should be.
Well, you give yourself so much more fair territory when you're up in the box. You get a lot of fair territory there, and if you put it down the first baseline against the Marlins, you're really helping yourself, because Nick Johnson, boy, he's playing just about on one leg out there. He's got a bad hamstring pull, and he's very much immobile, almost like a peg leg, and he goes out there, and if you can get it to the right side of the infield, chances are you're going to be able to get that runner to second base. Good form, nice level bat by Homer Bailey, and number 5 on the year for Bailey.
Now, very seldom will you see it called, but the answer is yes, you can be called for being out of the batter's box. No, I mean, it doesn't happen very often, but you know, we've had it happen before when players run up on the batter's box, but on a bunt attempt, very seldom will an umpire call it. But if you are out of the batter's box, very often they will call it.
Well, you're not going to stride anyway when you bunt, so you shouldn't step out of the box. Normally when that's called, you step on the plate. The umpire will call that.
Here's Drew Stubbs. A 2-out base hit in the third, then a stolen base, his 7th of the year, and then a base hit by Drew Sutton, and the Drews combined for a run. The one run that the Reds have on the board, that came in the third. Miller, not much speed, out at second, so it'll take a pretty good hit to get him home.
It will, but you know, this Florida Marlin outfield, I've noticed, George, plays very deep out here. Cody Ross in right field plays very, very deep. Maybe some of the deepest right field we've seen you know, normally you'll see outfielders, especially in the Central Division, who come to Great American Ballpark on a frequent basis, they'll begin to play more shallow. You know, that center fielder will move up just a little bit, maybe to about this area up here. The left fielder will move up a little bit, because normally when a ball is over the head when you're playing that deep, it's in the stands, and at least in this ballpark.
Hit pretty good left center field. Going back Coghlan, going back Maben. Coghlan will haul it in at the warning track. The Reds threaten with a walk and a sacrifice. Nothing to show for it. Homer back to the mound. Maben due up when we return.
With a 1-0 lead. Jim Day back with you. We're in the press box. We're down to the nitty-gritty, our week-long campaign to decide the best baseball movie of all time. Here are your 4 finalists. Text 1 if you like The Natural, 2 for The Sandlot, 3 for Bull Durham, and 4 for Field of Dreams. There you see the percentages. Those are up to date. 37664 is where you text your choices to. 37664. Standard text message rates apply. We will have the final results coming up on Reds Live post game as the pitcher Rick Vandenherk stands in against Homer Bailey. We're also taking your comments on Facebook, facebook.com/Fox Sports Ohio. And as usual, we're stealing a couple of those best ones on Facebook. And we would invite you to still log on to facebook.com/Fox Sports Ohio, and we'll pick some of the best comments on the post-game show as well. Swing and a miss by Vandenherk. Here's a couple of comments. Ernie writes in, Field of Dreams. It uses baseball, but it's really about family, relationships, and trying to communicate with the ones you love, which is more important than all the glory in the world. From Doug, as there's another called third strike by Homer Bailey. Doug writes, has to be Sandlot. It captures the innocence of youth and when baseball was a game. Again, you can follow everything about Fox Sports Ohio on facebook.com/Fox Sports Ohio. And again, we'll have the final results on Reds Live post game, and we'll again take some more Facebook comments as well. George Grand, Homer Bailey continues to deal.
So, JD, did you know the answer to the trivia question, whose name was on the ball hit over the fence in Sandlot?
I did not, because as I made a confession last night that I have not seen The Sandlot, George. So I was judging movies against a movie I haven't seen.
You should have disqualified yourself in the beginning.
Well, as a baseball announcer, it's almost blasphemy that I haven't seen it. And I promised people on Twitter and Facebook that I am going to watch the movie.
By the way, I mean, it's unanimous up here. This may have been our favorite Reds Live pregame with George Wendt. Chris, you know that he's going to put that on. JD's going to put that on his resume reel. Definitely, right?
I got to check to make sure my kegerator's still there.
You had some fun, didn't you?
We had a lot of fun.
He was great.
It was fantastic. I mean, there's a show that I watched, in my younger days, and one of the greatest shows of all time. And when you think about it, he is one of the greatest characters ever created in sitcom history. And to have him on the set was priceless.
2 characters on the set together. Nice job, JD.
All right, George.
See you for Reds Live postgame. That was neat. For those of you that missed it, it was outstanding. George went. He did pretty good in the trivia questions, too.
Until they started asking him baseball questions.
Well, I mean, they gave him a slow pitch softball pitch, right? He was great. He was game for it, too. 2 balls, no strikes, 2 quick outs here in the 6th. Nick Johnson at the plate. We talk about how do you become a major leaguer. Homer Bailey was one of those Reds representatives that went to our rookie development that takes place in Lansdowne Convention Center in Washington in January. And what former major leaguers told him, it's about a presence, it's about confidence in yourself, it's about finding a way to be the best that you can be on the field and off. And boy, we've seen that from Homer Bailey in the last month. He's stepped up his game in every respect. The sacrifice, another example of it. Little things he's doing that are coming together for him.
Yesterday he was one of the Reds players that were representing the Reds during the season ticket holders lunch. And one of the questions that came from the audience, very interesting, it said, what player would you like to face for Homer? Which batter would you like to face for the other players? What pitcher? And Homer right away said, I want to face the best. I want to face Albert Pujols. Last time I faced him, he knocked me out of the ball game with a line drive off my ankle. Time before that, I faced him and he struck out. He went 0 for 3 and I struck him out. He goes, I want to face the best guy out there because that's the way it is. I want to know that when I face the best, one of us wins and one of us loses. We lay it all out there. And this guy's got that kind of killer instinct, and I think that's a secret component, the little internal component that makes an average pitcher into a great pitcher, and he's got that. And he's come a long way this year.
He's facing the best here. Leading hitter in the National League, Hanley Ramirez, who popped up first time up, line drive to right, second time up 0 for 2. Reds with a slim 1-0 lead with 2 outs and a runner on. Here in the 6th are the Marlins. In the air to right field. Gomes at the warning track will squeeze it right in front of the 370 sign. That just kept on carrying. Hanley Ramirez has power that keeps that ball going. Homer says, woo. Freeze cam. How about this for jumping ability? We know about Brandon Phillips' sister Portia, who is an outstanding college basketball player at Georgia. He's got some game too, huh? What do you think she was thinking?
Don't land on me.
Coors Light Freeze Cam brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light. Do not try that at home. There's Drew Sutton. He'll lead it off in the 6th. In the 3rd, Drew Stubbs singled, stole 2nd. Sutton singled to right. That's the run that the Reds had. They lead it 1-0.
He got a 3-2 fastball and turned on it very nicely, and Vandenherk remembered that and just let him off an off-speed pitch right there.
And Vandenherk ahead, no balls and 2 strikes. He got him. Strikeout for Vandenherk. First out of the bottom of the 6th, and here comes Joey Votto. Another look.
Well, 2 changeups in the same at bat, sandwiched around a nice fastball. And boy, you can't locate it any better than that one. Well, Vandenherk reminds you a little bit of Homer Bailey. I mean, I don't think he throws the ball quite as hard, although in the past he's been known to throw the ball up as high as 97 miles an hour. But a big guy, 6 feet 5 inches tall. Homer's about 6'4" or 6'5".
Now, the other way I think he reminds us of Homer too, Chris, is that when they both first came up and when they were in the minor leagues, their calling card was a big breaking ball, and both of them have gone away from that, and they're pitching more effectively.
Well, interestingly enough, it was Bert Blyleven who ran the pitching staff for the Netherlands in the WBC this year that really was instrumental in tightening up that breaking ball for Vandenherk. That was Blyleven, incidentally, that had one of the biggest and hardest breaking curveballs in all of baseball history. I mean, that big yacker that he used to throw. But, you know, the inconsistency of throwing that slow breaking ball is one that they decided to try to tighten it up, so he throws more sliders now than curveballs.
And for Vandenherk, for Rick, it was an impressive meeting because coming from the Netherlands, he had, I don't want to say idolized, but certainly he looked up to Blyleven. He had a Blyleven poster in his bedroom when he grew up, and for him, it was certainly for one player, the World Baseball Classic experience meant more than just baseball. Pretty special time for him.
And of course, he's also one of the casualties of the World Baseball Classic.
Yep.
Had a little bit of an elbow issue coming out of the WBC. Meziga, another one of those players that was hurt in the WBC, talking to Mike Hill before the ball game, the general manager from the Marlins, about that. And, you know, he echoes the same sentiment so many GMs do, that you know, it's hard to tell players not to play in it because of the pride they have in their country. Boy, it's the ball clubs that are guaranteeing the contracts.
No balls, 1 strike to Brandon. That misses 1-1. And, you know, Chris, I think of all the players who experienced injuries this year, I think Alfredo Meziga probably suffered the worst injury because his whole game was his legs.
Yep.
He hurt his knee in the WBC. They backed him off for a couple of weeks. He tried to come back, couldn't come back, and he ended up with surgery on the knee, out for the year, and they hope to get him back for spring training next year. But I mean, his whole game was speed, so if he doesn't come back with that same kind of speed, he's not the same kind of player he was. Brandon, 8-game hitting streak on the line, 0 for 2, line drive out last time and a pop-up first time. Everybody in the Cincinnati area, high school football update. Elder leads LaSalle 17-13 at halftime. Elder, of course, one of the top teams in the nation in college football. Rick and Bernie and Mark are downstairs sweating that out.
Oh, they're sweating that one out. They didn't think that would be so close, but LaSalle's got a lot better ball club, I think, than people give them credit.
I'll say
although the hype that followed the St. Xavier Bombers down in Louisville, I understand at halftime the Bombers are in control 23-0 over Louisville Trinity.
We got an update, 47.
I'll make that one.
I think 47
to nothing.
There's a line drive. That's a base hit for Phillips into the corner. He rounds first. He'll head to second. For Brandon, his 28th double of the season. So Phillips has a 9-game hitting streak. He's in scoring position with 2 outs here in the 6th, and here comes Rowland.
Well, Brandon Phillips says, not this time. I'm going to hit it over the head of the third baseman. Last time he sizzled it right into the glove of Jorge Cantu. That time he lofted it over Cantu's head and puts himself in scoring position. How nice would it be right here for Scott Rowland to be able to drive it in with 2 outs. Updated on that score, George, not 23-0. It is 47-0.
Yep.
Cincinnati St. Xavier over Louisville Trinity. I don't think those Louisville schools are going to invite the Cincinnati schools back.
2009 has been fine for Cincinnati and Louisville. So there's Brandon in scoring position, and here's Scott Rowland, bounced out twice to short. Speaking of scoreboard, Pittsburgh leads San Diego 3-1. They're in the 6th. Philadelphia leads Atlanta 2-1 in the 5th. Cubs lead the Cardinals 2-0 in the 2nd. Washington 4, Mets 2 in the 6th inning, and Houston leads Milwaukee 1-0 in the 3rd. Colorado, Arizona, and San Francisco, Los Angeles still to come. Reds, of course, play the 4-game series with the Marlins. Reds only went to Florida for 2 games, and the Marlins have come here for 4. They'll turn that around the other way next year when these 2 teams meet. After the Marlins leave town, the Reds will leave town too. For their final road trip, they'll head to Pittsburgh, then on to Houston, and then come home to face the Cardinals and the Pirates to wrap up the 2009 regular season. Still a mathematical chance in the wild card. The next win by Colorado or loss by the Reds will eliminate the Reds from wild card contention, technically. 3-0. That misses down low. Here's your Honda standings update. To update you on the races, first in the National League, Atlanta 7.5 back of Philadelphia. The Cubs 9 back. Colorado 5 back of the Dodgers. And in the wild card, Colorado has a 3.5 game lead over San Francisco, 4.5 over Atlanta, and 5 over Florida going into play today. Your Honda standings National League division race update. In the American League, the Yankees still have that 7-game bulge as Mark Wiley talks to his tall right-hander. 7-game bulge over Boston. But the Red Sox in the wild card hunt have a 6-game lead now over the Texas Rangers. In the Central, the Tigers struggling in the last 2 weeks. Their lead over Minnesota down to 4. And remember, those 2 teams have 6 games left against each other starting this weekend. And Los Angeles has a 6.5 game lead over Texas over in the West. Kiko Calero, the former Cardinal reliever, loosening in the bullpen. So 2 on, 2 out. Here's Gomes, who bounced down and flied out.
Hey, George, you know how some people get on the cell phone and they get in the camera, then they start to wave while they're on the cell phone?
Oh, yeah.
If I see that, would you mind if I happen to erase them with the telestrator?
You can do that.
Okay. I saw a couple of prospective erasables coming up, but fortunately they sat down and won't have to do it to them.
Those weren't the scouts behind home plate you're talking about? No balls, 1 strike. You know, there are a lot of things at the ballpark that you love and you enjoy. There are a few things that you just hate to see, and that's one of them. That and the wave. No balls, 2 strikes.
There we go.
Adroitly done. That's wide.
Sorry.
Now somebody on the phone saying you got to move to the side a little bit.
I've got a wider brush.
Chris is relentless. You can't escape the Welsh telestrator brush.
I mean, it's a little late in the season to be doing that, I know, but we're in a 1-0 ball game.
1 ball, 2 strikes, and Gomes will step out. She already moved 4 seats over because the scoreboard was over before. Now you're on again now. There, see?
Lessons are easily learned.
You got your father's voice now. It's your fatherly voice. Baker's out to talk to Vandenhoof.
Yeah, not a bad idea either, because you've got a dangerous hitter up. You've got a 1-2 count, and here's your chance as a pitcher to try to expand the strike zone a little bit, make Johnny Gomes chase a pitch, and get out of this inning without any further damage. A mistake pitch here could cost him 3 runs.
So what's Gomes thinking? Will they stay away? Does he think away and go to right field? Baker coming in. Oof. Surprisingly, he wanted it in. It was down and almost away. Do you risk coming in on Gomes in this situation? 2-2.
Well, he's got Gomes 2 times on ground balls on fastballs. Down and away.
He got him out in front, popped up. Who's going to take charge? Maben will. The Reds will strand 2 in the 6th. A double and a walk. Nothing to show for it. Back to work goes Homer Bailey with a 1-0 lead. AT&T, the nation's fastest 3G network. AT&T, your world delivered. Great to have you with us at Great American Ballpark. George Grant, Chris Welch, Jeff Pecoro, Jim Day standing by with Reds Live post game. Down in the truck, Christian Roberts, our producer. Ryan Hunterman, our director. Matt Segafus did our pregame work today. Lucas Leidy's down at tape joining us. Great to have you with us tonight, Lucas. And Lauren White down in the truck with us as well. By the way, did you get the full schedule for the Syracuse Orangemen from John Browdy, Chris?
How did I miss that? You mean the lacrosse schedule?
Yeah, football doesn't. They don't care about football anymore now.
Why would you?
Great to have John Browdy back with us, and a tremendous job again for Senior Browdy with the Cincinnati Bengals media guide. Swing and a miss, just like that. Jorge Cantu disposed of. First out of the 7th inning.
You know, it seems like this Florida Marlins team likes the high fastball, and they really feel like they can hit it, especially Cantu. Second at bat in a row that Homer Bailey went right up the ladder, just threw fastballs just right by really the number 4 hitter in this lineup, and he's done that through many of the hitters in this lineup. The only guy that has really been able to tame it at all has been Ramirez, and he's lofted a couple of harmless fly balls.
8 strikeouts for Homer tonight. Will be his career high. That's 7 for tonight. Dan Uggla, who popped up and walked. By the way, Chris, you talked about Homer at the season ticket holders luncheon. Students at Cincinnati's Public School Academy of Multilingual Immersion Studies visited by a group of Reds players today. Great to see a whole host of Reds players show up for what was a very meaningful afternoon. Players participating in a question and answer session. Vladimir Valentin, Wilkin Castillo, Juan Francisco, Ramon Hernandez, Daniel Ray Herrera. There's Porky Lopez on the right there with Edinson Volquez, Adam Rosales, Danny Richard, Ramon Ramirez. There's a foul ball wide. It's a French and Spanish immersion school located in the old Woodward High School in Cincinnati. And Rosie Red was there too.
You know, that's one thing this Reds ball club has done, and over the last few years, really the involvement of the Reds Community Fund, but the outreach programs that they've had. Lori Platt has highlighted a lot of these efforts to get the Reds players out of the community. And I can't remember, you know, up until the last 5 years, Reds teams really getting involved as much as they have been. It's really great to see, especially when they start getting out to schools and doing appearances in front of young kids and young people like that.
All part of the Reds annual Hispanic Heritage Night, which will take place tomorrow here at Great American Ballpark. Fly ball into the right field corner. Long run Gomes. He's there in foul territory. He hauls it in. Good guy to get out of the batter's box, Dan Uggla, and there's 2 away here in the 7th.
Well, they're just not catching up on the fastball from Homer Bailey tonight, and that's what results in a lot of fly balls, especially opposite field fly balls.
So 2 away, and here comes the catcher, John Baker. You know, and part of that, I mean, I was associated with the Yankee organization and the Cardinal organization, and the Cardinals really set the bar so high for everyone. It started with the ownership group there, and Bob Castellini has done the same thing here. He made it clear when he took over that the Reds franchise is not just about baseball and the ballpark, it's about the community. And from the top on down, I mean, the people that have been added, the resources that have been allocated, both human resources and financial resources, put the Reds on a par with the best teams in baseball and per capita and per dollar in terms of devoting time, effort, and concern for the community. And really, isn't that what it's all about for a franchise, whether it's the NFL or the NBA or Major League Baseball, is being a part of your community. And the Reds, Chris, since we've been here in the last 17 years, it's light years. We've gone from, you know, the caveman era to the top of the pack.
Well, one of the big fundraisers for that Reds Community Fund is coming up on Sunday and Monday of this weekend. The Marty Brennaman Celebrity Golf Tournament out down at Belterra. They do a great job at that. I think they've got a sold-out field, if I'm not mistaken. But they'll play not 1 but 2 days of golf down there. Marty's taking the whole weekend off so he can go down and get the festivities ready to go. The Belterra folks do a great job, and I'm looking forward to it. They're having the Frank Sinatra tribute band that will be playing on Sunday night. Marty he'll be in his heyday.
Now Marty's the leader of the pack, and the Rat Pack will be part of that. No doubt about it. I don't think there's any doubt that whenever you do something like the Reds are trying to do, you need your most visible components to buy into it, and certainly Marty's done that at the top of the list. This golf tournament is just a part of commitment to the community. 1 ball, 2 strikes. That get him on the hand or the bat?
Foul ball.
Foul ball. Got a little bit of the hand, but a lot of the bat.
He's got to react a little quicker if he wants to get to first base with a little Academy Award act right there. Right on the knob of the bat, it looks like a little check swing, and that's exactly right. Some guys have their hands wrapped down below the knob of the bat. That would have clipped their hand, but in that case, it's a foul ball. 116 for Homer Bailey.
Right about the end of the rope, Chris?
Pretty much so.
That may be his last pitch. He's been outstanding tonight. Now time for the 7th inning stretch by Cincinnati Bell. Homer and the Reds leading it 1-0. There's a peek at Fountain Square in downtown Cincinnati, the home of the Reds, where Reds baseball is being brought to you by your local Ford dealer in the Ford F-150 2009 Motor Trend Truck of the Year. By Aflac, we've got you under our wing. By your Cincinnati Northern Kentucky Honda dealers. Visit mycincinnatihondadealer.com for current offers. And by McDonald's of Greater Cincinnati. And don't forget, tonight's Mega Million jackpot up to $51 million. Buy a ticket today. You could be a big-time winner in the Ohio Lottery. Reds a winner right now. 1 run, 4 hits for Cincinnati, 5 left on base. No runs, 3 hits, no errors, 3 left on base for the Florida Marlins. A lot of folks love the way Johnny Gomes has played for the Reds. And tonight a lot of folks love the way Homer Bailey has pitched for the Reds. Bailey due up third as we head to the bottom of the 7th, facing the new pitcher for the Florida Marlins. Kiko Calero takes over for Rick Vandenhurst. Vandenhurst pitched great. He allowed only the 4 hits and the 1 run. In 6 innings of work, he gives way to Calero. Valentin, Miller, and Bailey due up.
Nice job by Homer Bailey tonight. You know, even more so when you pitch in a 1-0 ball game where your margin of error is so slim. One bad pitch ties the ball game up. Dominant tonight with 8 strikeouts. 117 pitches for Homer Bailey, one of his better outings ever.
Nick Massett. We used to talk about every day Eddie Guardado. The way this bullpen is going, it's been every day Massett, Rhodes, and Cordero.
Well, you know, part of the key to that as a reliever is keeping your pitch count down, not only as a starter for the case of Homer Bailey. Last couple of starts for Bailey, he was out of there in the 5th inning because, or after 5 innings, because of his pitch count. Today he was more efficient. He went 7 innings.
Well, you see Homer going to the bat rack. Could be 2 things. Number one, maybe he's in the game, unlikely. But if there's a runner on first and 1 out, or there's a runner on first and second and no outs, you'd send him up to bunt anyways. Homer at the top of the steps with bat in hand and hat in hand.
I don't know if you would or not. I mean, now that you've got expanded rosters, you've got all sorts of opportunities to bring somebody up there who is an everyday player to lay a bunt down. Not like you're going to run out of players.
Whoa, how about this? It goes fair, and they'll get the out at first. It went foul, kept rolling. Johnson let it roll when he saw that Miller wasn't running. So the runner will go to second. It does work as a sacrifice anyways, but take a look at this weird twist of this bunt.
Well, you know, once the ball goes foul, that's when you're supposed to knock it with your glove, not give it a chance to get by you. He was chasing that ball like it had a life of its own.
So Bailey, top of the dugout steps, will head back, and there is, thank you very much. That gets by him and rolls down the first baseline. Not quite Bill Buckner, but a memorable dribbler.
Bill Buckner wished he'd have knocked it down.
Here's Lance Nix. He'll hit for Homer. So Homer's day is done. Dusty Baker hoping the Reds can come back and give him a run or 2 more to pad that 1-0 lead. First pitch swing, and Nix pops it up. Baker towards the third base side will haul it in. And there's your second out. So for Homer, 7 innings, 3 hits, no runs, 8 strikeouts, and only a couple of walks. Darn good night for the Texan. 117 pitches on the night, 76 strikes.
Well, you just think what could be with this pitching rotation. You know, when you get Edinson Volquez back, but even in the meantime, you know, with Harang back and healthy next year, Bronson Arroyo, Johnny Cueto throwing the ball the way he does, and Homer Bailey the way he has thrown the ball over the last 6 starts now, that is a dominant first 4 in the rotation. I mean, as good as it gets.
Breaking balls in there, first strike to Drew Stubbs. Popped up, singled, stole a base forward in the 3rd. That's the 1 run the Reds have. He scored on a Drew Sutton base hit. And he flied to left. Hit one to the warning track in left. With a runner in scoring position in the 5th. Lofted to left. Coghlan there. He'll squeeze it. That'll do it. The Reds get a leadoff walk. Nothing to show for it. Homer's night is done. The Reds still have a 1-0 lead as we head to the 8th. Not once throws out Coghlan, but twice he came up with big-time throws to nail runners in scoring position with perfect throws. That's a big part of the game. On the other side, a base hit by Drew Stubbs. He does steal a base. Drew Sutton follows with a rocket shot to right. Stubbs scores. That's the 1 run on the board. Meanwhile, Homer's been outstanding. 7 innings, 3 hits, no runs, a career high tying 8 strikeouts, 2 walks. Add it all up, the Reds have a 1-0 lead. Homer exits. He'll give way to Nick Massett. Your report card for Homer Bailey, a dandy tonight, Chris.
Well, he pitched as well as I think that he can pitch, George. One of his better outings ever as a major leaguer. Only 3 hits, 8 strikeouts, dominant all night long. But, you know, when you look back on the 2 real key plays of this game was Corky Miller throwing those runners out, trying to steal seconds, trying to steal third. You can't get better throws than what Miller made tonight. Great combination of Miller and Homer Bailey. And they will give way to Nick Massett. 68 games now for this workhorse.
Well, Massett goes to work. He'll face Cody Ross in the 7th spot. Ross Glode has moved into the on-deck circle. And remember, this Marlin team from the left side has Ross Glode, outstanding pinch hitter. Wes Helms from the right side as well. As we go to the 8th. Cody tonight struck out twice against Homer. Brendan Donnelly in the bullpen, the big right-hander, the former Red, loosening for the Florida Marlins. Wow. He has just been picture perfect, on top of everything. And you talk about confidence for Homer Bailey. Say the same thing about Nick Massett now too, huh?
Well, you know, the key for these bullpenners, because they're being used a lot. I mean, Nick Massett now has appeared in 4 games, making 5 games in a row. All 3 Houston games, both games here against the Florida Marlins. But if you keep your pitch counts down, you can do that to a certain extent. 19 pitches last night, only 9 pitches the night before. But if you can buzz through the lineup easily, you'll take that ball every night.
So here comes Glode to pinch hit in the 8th spot, and the other part of the tandem is moved into the on-deck circle, Wes Helms. Here in the 8th, bottom of the order, unlikely to pinch hit with Johnson or Ramirez or Cantu at the top of the order, or Ugla. This is the time where Freddie Gonzalez thinks, if I'm going to use him, I'll use him now. The 2 most often used pinch hitters. Glode, 53 pinch hit appearances and 17 hits, and Helms 44 pinch hit appearances and 15 hits.
You know, the more successive games in a row that you use your reliever, they have to be resourceful too. And it seems like Matz is going a little more with his breaking stuff last couple of nights. As your arm gets worn down, you know, you reach back and it's not there as often. You might be able to reach back a couple of times and throw it 95 and 96, but it's not there pitch after pitch after pitch when you've been up 5 days in a row.
Last night, Gload and Helms came on in the 9th inning, and Cordero disposed of both of them in a 1-2-3 ninth.
Now, one of these 5 days he's pitched, he only pitched two pitches, but you still do get up and get fired, warmed up.
There's a base hit. That's to left. 4th hit of the night, a 1-out base hit for Gload, and here comes Wes Helms from the on-deck circle to the plate. Hey, Kroger and the Reds proud to team up to offer you a great value this season. Check concession stands throughout the ballpark for the Kroger meal deal, which includes a full-size adult hot dog, a 16-ounce Coke, a bag of chips, and during the homestand, a bag of M&M's premium candies, all for just $7. The Kroger meal deal. So here's Helms. He'll come to the plate. Brett Carroll comes into the game. He'll pinch run down at first. Good speed. Last night his major contribution was a brilliant diving, stumbling catch in right field that robbed the Reds of a run. 1 away. Reds hopeful of getting Helms to ground into a inning-ending double play with a runner at first. Part-time play, 102 games, but a lot of pinch hit appearances. 277 average for Helms all told. In those 102 games, he has only 191 at bats. So you can see a lot of those games have been 1 and out, just a pinch hit appearance. Could be 4, 6. Yes, sir, 3. Well, whether you do it with a strikeout or the 4-6-3, Nick Massett gets it done. That erases the runner in the 8th. Reds hold on to a 1-run lead to the bottom of the 8th. We go. Hey, say hi to the dancing dog. It's time for our John Morrell hot dog play of the game. Hey, it's Miller time, Corky Miller time. He throws out Coghlan trying to steal third. And down at second, he throws out Maben trying to steal second. So 2 runners cut down potentially in run-scoring positions by Corky Miller. That's been as important as anything that's happened tonight, as Homer Bailey pitched brilliantly and got great support from his battery mate tonight. 2 brilliant plays by Corky Miller. He needed perfect throws both times. He got them both times. Scott rolling at the bat rack. He's due up 4th this inning. for the Florida Marlins. Brett Carroll stays in the game. He's in right. That means that Cody Ross will move from right to center in place of Maben. So it's Coghlan in left, Ross in center, and Carroll over in right. Here's Drew Sutton, first pitch swinging, lofts it to left center. Going back, Coghlan leaps, can't get it. Ross will track it down. Sutton around second, going to third. He'll be in there with a 3-base hit. Well, it's been a year of first for Drew Sutton. Add another one, his first triple. He bangs it off the wall by the 379 sign. He's got his first 3-bagger.
Well, he may have had the 2 most important hits of this ball game. He drove in his buddy Drew Stubbs back in the 3rd inning with a single. And this time he hits it in the gap at left center. Boy, what an effort by Coghlan. He almost got that ball on a fly just off the end of his glove, but when it does not get in the glove, Sutton leads off with a triple.
But Coghlan made a great effort, and watch it, it just flicks off the tip of his glove. Almost a brilliant catch by the second baseman turned left fielder. Boy, he's impressed us in every facet of the game in this series. But now the Marlins will have to bring the infield in with the Reds' best hitter with runners in scoring position, Joey Votto, at the plate. Nobody out, runner at third against Brendan Donnelly, the new pitcher. Vanden Hurk went 6 innings. The 7th inning, Kiko Calero, and here's Brendan Donnelly, the former Cincinnati Red. That's going to be through, a base hit for Joey. Does it again, a run-scoring base hit. 71 runs batted in for Votto. Drew Sutton taps the plate, and the Reds have a 2-0 lead.
Huge run right there. You got to figure the Reds were going to get it done sometime in this inning. Joey Votto says, I'll take care of that. Second hit on the night for Votto. He hit one to left field very sharply by the second baseman. Goes this one to drive in Sutton. It's a 2-0 ball game.
So Joey delivers. Sutton scampers home, and the Reds have a 2-0 bulge, and here comes Brandon. Phillips stretched his hitting streak to 9 straight with a double last time, up 1 for 3.
Hey, Reds fans, for a great tasting meal and quality bag of JTM beef and chicken feet. Let me start all over again here. I'm so excited about that run. I don't know what to do.
Any pitcher that gets a run in the bottom of the 8th has to be a little excited.
I've been waiting for 5 innings to read this, and I messed it up.
Chris Walsh, promo, take 2. 3, 2, 1.
Hey, Reds fans, for a great tasting quality meal for your family, pick up a bag of JTM beef or chicken Philly cheesesteaks from your favorite grocer. JTM, food, family, fun. Now let me do it again.
Good job, Welsh. That's it to go.
I've only read that about 100 times.
You know, you can close your eyes and say that in your sleep, right? Sometimes it's reading it that screws you up. 2 balls, no strikes to Brandon. And if they forget about Votto, he'll gladly take second. Donnelly delivers. Down and away, swing and a miss, and it's 2-1. Well, Brandon wanted to end strong. He sure is. He's hit well in the month of September. And still an outside shot at 100 runs batted in for the season. Already has 20 homers, already has 20 stolen bases. Look out, up and in. Phillips, month of September, 359. He leads the everyday Reds. Joey Votto with that base hit pulls his September average over 300. That came after 2 subpar months for Joey. Down to third, but foul. And don't forget, this weekend on Fox Sports Ohio's College Football Saturday, Brian Kelly and the Bearcats heading out to the Great Northwest to battle the Beavers in a non-conference showdown. Bearcats and Oregon State Saturday at 6:30, presented by your Cincinnati Northern Kentucky Honda dealers. Hope you had a chance to see the visit we had with Jamel Elliott, the new women's basketball coach, and really every coach that you talk to really has nothing but great things to say about Brian Kelly and his presence on the UC campus and how welcoming he is, and also how inclusive he is to all sports, not just his football guys. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Quick pitch, looped into right. They got a shot at first. Here comes the throw, and they will double up Votto at first. And let's see. Votto still holding there to make sure what's going on. Take a look.
Are they going to call a balk?
Jim Joyce, there's the catch, here's the throw. Jim Joyce, though, at the plate, talking with Freddie Gonzalez.
Yeah, but it's a second. Yeah, he was at second base. Jim Joyce was, and he's talking about. I think that Brendan Dolly committed a balk right there by not hesitating.
It was a quick pitch, and I think he's right, because I don't know that. Watch him here. It looked like he stepped off and then threw the ball. I mean, it was a bizarre delivery, and I think Joyce is right on. It looked like Chrissy stepped off. His right foot lost contact with the rubber, and then he threw the ball to the plate. Take another look. Watch the right foot. Yep. He stepped off. He kind of hopped up, lost contact with the rubber, stepped back, and then threw the ball to the plate. So the question is, that would have been a 3-2 pitch. Take a look. Watch Jim Joyce, see if you can see him in the umpire. He's waving his hands right there, calling the play, calling the ball. So how about this for a break? And Freddie Gonzalez came out at first, running out to discuss it with Joyce, and after Joyce was reconfirmed by the other umpires who saw it, and Chris,
I don't think I've ever seen that.
No. I mean, it was almost as if he was stepping off to throw to first.
So how does
but
Brandon
he threw to the
Phillips
plate.
get awarded the base?
It was in a 3-2 pitch.
Okay.
So Phillips will be on, and going to second will be Votto. So instead of a double play and the runner erased, the Reds have 2 on, and their third baseman Scott Rowland to the plate. Well, Jim Joyce has been in the middle of it this week. It was Jim Joyce who was at home plate in that melee in New York where Jorge Posada was ejected from the game, and he got out of the middle of that one fast.
Well, you're not kidding.
Here's a fly ball to center. Ross going back. Votto tagging. Phillips is tagging also. Phillips will slam on the brakes, and Votto will go to third. So it'll be first and third. That's the first out of the inning. Brandon Phillips was the one who took second when everybody was sleeping. That time there's no way Cody Ross was going to be sleeping. His throw was perfect to second. So here comes Johnny with his fan club tagging along with a runner at first and a runner at third and 1 out. Gomes bounced out, flied out, 0 for 3. Down to third. Cantu has it. 5-4. And they get the double play that ends the inning. So a triple and a single give the Reds an insurance run. Last roundup time, we're going to the 9th. Reds by 2. Day of the season this Sunday. When one family member purchases a full price ticket in advance of game day, the entire family gets non-premium tickets at half price. Come root on the Reds as they face the Florida Marlins. For your tickets, call 381-REDS or go to reds.com. eReach.com Family Day. Well, last roundup time for the Marlins as we go to the top of the ninth inning. The Reds 2 runs, 6 hits, no errors, 7 left on base. The Marlins no runs, 4 hits, no errors, 3 left on base. And here comes Coco Cordero to try to close it out.
5 games in a row now for Francisco Cordero as well. He's got 38 saves, 66 appearances on the year. He pitched all 3 games against the Houston Astros, picked up saves in each one of those ball games. In fact, he has picked up save in each of his last 4 outings.
Changes for the Reds. Paul Janisch comes into the game. He's your shortstop, and Jay Bruce comes into the game. He's out in right field. And here's Coco to try to close it out. And in between innings, we check with the official scorers just to see how they did score that. And Mike Cameron and Mike Jones aren't sure. In fact, they've called down to get an explanation from the umpires exactly how it was scored. So if we get further clarification from Jim Joyce and from Mike Cameron and Mike Jones in the official scorer's booth, we'll pass it on to you. Swing and fouled off by Chris Coghlan. Well, Coghlan got his 5th straight hit against the Reds his first time up. Hit a line drive that Ballantine made a diving catch of in the 3rd, and then he flied out in the 6th. So he's 1 for 3. Facing Cordero for the first time. Off the foot, dribbled down to first. Ouch. Now you go through stretches, Chris, where it looks like you can't score a run, or you score a lot of runs and you end up losing a game. Well, in this stretch where the last 8 wins for the Reds have occurred, each of those wins have been by 2 runs or less. It's been uncanny the way it's turned around for the Reds.
Sometimes, you know, George, there's the common thinking among most baseball people is that when it comes to 1-run games, and if you win a large percentage of those, it means you're lucky more than anything else. But if you win ball games in which the total number of runs are scored are low, it means you've got good pitching and you manage your bullpen right, and you've been able to get what you want out of your bullpen, and that's what Dusty Baker's looking at right now. He's gone to the same horses now in the 8th and 9th inning, 5 consecutive games in a row. You can't do it forever, but you got to know when you can push these guys and when you can't. And he wants to win these ball games. There's no question about that. And to hold the Florida Marlins to 2 runs last night and only 4 hits and no runs tonight. This is a high-flying offense here. 3rd best offense in the National League. That is saying something.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Did he check it? Yes, he did. And Coghlan still got a hitch in his giddy up, trying to walk off the foul ball off the foot. Full count, 3-2. Looped into left. Here comes Ballantine. He loses it in the lights. It'll drop for a hit. Well, Ballantine made a great catch last time on a ball in a similar place. This time he got there, and at the last 15 or 20 feet, it looks like he just lost it in the lights. They're going to charge an error on Ballantine, so it'll be an error on the left fielder.
Well, the ball looked like it was very catchable out there, and Vladimir Ballantine is an average outfielder, but he certainly doesn't make a good effort right there. I guess he lost it in the lights. At the very end right there, you can see him really struggling, trying to focus on that ball. There's the hesitation, just trying to pick it up out of that beam of light.
So the defense giveth and the defense taketh. His catch on the line drive by Coghlan was a fine one back in the 3rd. Charged with an error as he lost that one. And here's Johnson. Nick facing Cordero, takes a strike, and it's 0-2. Johnson tonight bounced out twice and walked. Johnson against Cordero, 1 for 6 in his career. And you know, when you get to this part of the lineup, who you got to face, it is Hanley Ramirez who's in the on-deck circle. And Ramirez in his career 1 for 5 against Cordero, the leading hitter in the National League. Coco had a 1-2-3 ninth last night to close it out.
Well, he will make you throw strikes. Nick Johnson will. Overall for Johnson, 90 walks and 81 strikeouts, making 91 walks now with the one he received in the 6th inning. He's got as good an eye at the plate as anybody in the league.
Pop back out of play down the left field line. Ryan Sanchez, the righty, and Leo Nunez, the closer, loosening in the bullpen for the Florida Marlins. Nunez, the lanky right-hander, to the right side of your screen. Corky upset with himself, fouled off, couldn't hold on. And we'll try it again, 3-2. Drilled to right, but right there is Bruce. He's got it. Squared up by Johnson, but right at the right fielder, and there's one away. And here comes Hanley. Ramirez tonight popped out to the catcher, line to right, and then flied out deep down the right field line to right. Reds have handled him pretty good. He got a base hit last night and knocked in his 100th run of the season. He had a 1 for 4 night. In fact, lined into a double play in the 7th inning, a ball he hit to Phillips. Tonight 0 for 3. It sounded like a broken bat. It'll bloop into left for a base hit, and now the tying run reaches first base. So 1 out, 2 on, and here comes Cantu.
Boy, he makes it look easy, doesn't he? Even on a broken bat. I mean, he's 0 for 3 on the night, and that's a rarity anyway. But way out on the end of the bat, that was definitely a broken bat, right at the tip. Picked on a pretty good pitch by Cordero and still gets a base hit.
Well, Dusty's comfortable seat has changed here in the ninth. He's now up in ante. Tying runs are on, and here comes Cantu. Singled, struck out, struck out. That's a strike.
Well, Cantu simply abused on the night by Homer Bailey. I mean, Bailey just threw fastball after fastball by Jorge, especially upstairs. He was a sucker to chase him and just could not get on top of any one of them.
That's a looping shot. It's a fair ball. 1 run will score. Here comes Ramirez to third. They're going to hold him there. And now the tying run's at third. The go-ahead run, Cantu with a double sitting at second.
And hit not all that well, kind of on the end of the bat on a breaking ball. The ball was up though, up above the knees, and that's why Cantu was able to get the elevation on it and just fair down the left field line.
So this all started with an error, and now it's still only 1 out. The tying run is down to third. The go-ahead run's at second, and here's Dan Uglo for 2 and a walk. Uglo for 1 against Cordero. Jared Burton has gotten up to start to loosen for the Reds. Ball, 1 strike. Bouncer down to short. That will get the tying run in. They get the out at first. So Homer Bailey will not pick up a much deserved victory tonight. Bailey went 7 innings, allowed 3 hits, no runs, struck out 8. But the tying run scores here in the 9th inning. Now the potential go-ahead runs down at third with 2 away. And here comes the catcher, John Baker. How quickly fortunes can change, and all starting with a ball lost in the lights here in the 9th inning.
Yeah, they really haven't hit the ball all that hard. I mean, can you consider all the line drives that were hit right at players tonight? And then the base hits were kind of soft liners that just happened to fall in. But you do set the pace when you don't make it out on a first fly ball that's hit to you.
Baker bounced into a fielder's choice and those 2 strikeouts. His last strikeout was in the 7th, the career high tying 8th strikeout of the night for Homer. Swing and a miss, and it's 2-1. Just as you talked about Massive, Chris, same story for Coco. 4 straight days coming out of the bullpen.
Yeah, you know what? But they wouldn't be in the ball game if they didn't tell either Dusty Baker or Dick Pole that they were ready to pitch tonight. I mean, they check with the bullpen guys every night. And these are guys that want the ball. How about that?
Another blue pit. This will drop, and the go-ahead run is scored here in the 9th. It all started with an error. And then the hardest hit ball of the inning was the line drive out off the bat of Johnson. A broken bat base hit, a broken bat double, and that blue pit plates the go-ahead run, and just like that, the Marlins have the lead, and out comes Dusty.
Well, by my calculations anyway, 2 of the 3 runs in this inning unearned, and just some bad luck for Cordero out there tonight.
Dusty checking with Coco. He has not signaled to the bullpen yet.
He's probably just asking him, do you want to finish the inning? I mean, we don't want to run his pitch count up any more than it is, and Cordero probably wants it. Probably obviously told him, yeah, I do want to finish the inning.
Well, this week, last night he threw 10 pitches, the night before 11, the night before that 8, and on Monday 6 pitches, and here he's had 26 pitches in this inning. It's gone from what could have been his 39th save to now a blown save and a possible loss. And probably of any of the hits he gave up this week, in fact, he didn't give up any hits prior to tonight, but of the balls hit off him, the weakest balls that were hit wound up being hits here tonight. Here's Cody Ross. Ross, 3 strikeouts on the night. That's into left, another base hit. So first and second now, still with 2 outs, and Dusty is going to go come and get him. That'll be it for Coco. So Cordero has been money in the bank all year, pitching in his 5th consecutive night. Victimized by an error to start the inning, then gives up 5 hits in the inning, and it's now a 3-2 lead for the Florida Marlins. And while the pitching change takes place, we'll take time out for these messages. Time for our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. You're watching Reds Baseball. Great American Ballpark. Enjoy panoramic views of the Ohio River and the ballpark from this 2-story outdoor party area located high above the center field wall. Make your plans today by calling the Reds Group Sales Department 513-765-7600. Boy, did this one flip-flop fast. 3 runs for the Marlins here in the top of the 9th inning, and here comes Jared Burton. 5 days in a row. Coco Cordero comes in, and 4 outstanding efforts. And then here on this Friday night, it started with an error, a base hit, a double, a ground out scored a run, and 2 more base hits, and just like that, it's a 3-2 lead for the Florida Marlins. Here's Burton to take over. He'll face Brett Carroll, who entered the game last inning. Carroll in the 8th spot of the order. By the way, looking ahead to the bottom of the 9th, it's the bottom of the order. Valentine, the catcher Corky Miller, and the 9th spot. Gabby Sanchez down in the Marlin dugout has moved out into the on deck circle. In the air, left center field. That's going to drop. Another run's going to score, and it'll be second and third on the 2-base hit to left center. So make it 4-2. The Marlins have the lead here in the 9th. Well, the Reds have kept the Marlins quiet for 2 nights. But here in the 9th, they've got more offense than they've had in 2 nights of baseball. Baker scampers home with the 4th run. And Carroll gets the double to put runners at second and third with 2 away.
5 of the 6 hits in almost the identical spot, too, in left center field.
And here comes Sanchez. The Miami, Florida native swings and misses at Burton's delivery. Hitting for Donnelly in the 9th spot. On the scoreboard in the American League, it's a final now. Boston beat Baltimore 3-1. Kansas City leads the White Sox 6-0. They're in the 7th. Anaheim leads Texas 2-0 in the 6th. Tampa Bay 8-4 over Toronto in the 6th. And Minnesota leads Detroit 3-0 in the 7th. The first of their 3 this weekend. The first of 6 between those 2 in the Central of the American League. Cleveland and Oakland, New York and Seattle still to come. Balls, 1 strike. And there's ball 4. The bases are loaded. So 9 have come to the plate here in the 9th. The bases are loaded with Marlins. And back to the guy who started all of it, Chris Coghlan, who reached on an error by Valentine and left. There was no one up in the Reds bullpen, and now there's some scurrying around, and Daniel Ray Herrera has gotten up rapidly trying to loosen. there's Coghlan, singled his first time up, lined out, flied out, then reached on the error to start the ninth. He's up for the second time in this inning. And Chris, it looks like it'll be down to the wire the way things have gone, thanks to this guy, for deciding who will be the National League Rookie of the Year. I think Jay Happ certainly had the lead going into the final 6 weeks of the season, but the pull side muscle that he had certainly has put him on the sidelines. And the way this guy's finishing, I mean, it's going to be a race to the tape.
It's really tough to compare everyday player like Coghlan and then Jay Happ from Philadelphia, who's the starting pitcher. 19 starts for Happ, 14 of them were quality starts, and he has been there every time he's taken them out for the Phillies. Had a great year.
We talked about it last year with Giovanni Soto in the middle of a pennant race as a catcher. I mean, Joey Votto had a brilliant year too, but because of the start that Soto had, I mean, he pretty much salted away Rookie of the Year by August.
Well, you know what? Maybe next week when we're over in Pittsburgh, we'll take an in-depth look at the Rookie of the Year, break it all down.
And in Pittsburgh, you could put McCutchen on that list too as a candidate.
Colby Rasmus.
Yep. Just missing on the corner, and it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Burton trying to find a way out of a 9th inning morass for the Reds. 9 to the plate already, and here's the 10th batter of the inning. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Coghlan hangs tough, fouling that off. You could probably put Hansen on that list too.
Oh yeah,
the way he's had the second half.
No question about that.
Yeah. 2-2. Just missing one more time, so we'll go 3-2 with 2 outs and the bases loaded.
Yeah, and that's not really what you want to do. You wanted to get a decision right there if you were Jared Burton on that 2-2 count, because now with 3-2, all the runners are going to get a big lead. They've already got a 4-2 lead. Base hit right here, a single will at least score 2. A long single, maybe even more.
Into center field, Stubbs going over, reaching up, he's got it. 44 pitches in the inning by the Reds bullpen. End result, 4-run score. Last roundup for the Reds, who trail 4-2. Home equity loan, subject to normal credit approval, equal housing lender, member FDIC. And don't forget, this week Fox NFL Sunday returns as Steven Jackson and the Rams take on Clinton Portis and the Redskins, or the Saints square off against the Eagles, or Antonio Bryan and the Buccaneers battle Terrell Owens and the Bills. Coverage begins Sunday with America's #1 pregame show at noon Eastern. Check local listings for the game and start time in your area. Well, the start time for the Florida Marlins offense was the 9th inning tonight. Coco Cordero, the final numbers on him after that last base hit, 2/3 of an inning, 4 hits and 4 runs scored off Coco Cordero. Reds need some firepower as we head to the bottom of the 9th inning. Here's the closer, Leo Nunez, his 70th game of the season. Big swing, going back, looking up, it's gonna be gone. Well, welcome, Chris. The big guy gets his first big swing, and it's a big-time blast. And what a greeting he'll have. Juan Francisco finally gets a chance to do something big, and boy, does he do it. What a shot from the youngster with all the power.
Boy, if you're not excited about seeing these young players who the Reds have called up, they've got some talent. That is some bat speed right there from Francisco. Wow. Well, the scouts that have watched him, George, and you and I both talked to a lot of them, they have nothing but great things to say about Francisco. I mean, a lot of them feel that this young man can be an impact player for a long time.
His first major league hit is a big one, a big time blast, his first major league homer. And the Reds are now within 1, 4-3. And here's Kevin Barker pinch hitting in the 8th spot. They measure that one at 423 feet. Now that's a calling card for your first big one, huh? Still nobody out. Nunez trying to find a way out of this inning, and they'll call him out saying he went around. Likable young man, Chris. We had a chance to spend some time with him in spring training. You're impressed by his bat speed. You're impressed by when he hits them, they stay hit. And I know he's scheduled to go down to the instructional league. They'll work with him some in the outfield. You swing like that, they'll find a place for you.
Oh, there's no question about that. And they have been working with him in the outfield a little bit down in the minor leagues this year. He'll do more of that now. That's how much they think of him. You know, if you're one of the issues that is facing the Reds is that, you know, Francisco and Yonder Alonso are both first basemen. But you've got Joey Votto, who's entrenched at first base, hopefully for a long, long time. So they haven't decided what they're going to do about Yonder Alonso yet, figuring that he's further away than Francisco is. But Francisco's close enough to being a big leaguer that they're projecting him maybe to work in the outfield, see how he takes to that.
Well, here's Jay Bruce in the 9th spot. Bruce came in defensively, still sitting on 18 homers. The last one hit, of course, before he went on the disabled list just before the All-Star break with the broken wrist. Nunez, his last appearance was in St. Louis, and he hit back-to-back batters when he came in. One of them was Albert Pujols, and after he hit Pujols to load the bases, he got Matt Holliday to ground into a double play that ended the ball game. So he had a rocky start in that relief appearance as well. Lively arm from the big, tall, lanky right-hander. 3 balls, 1 strike to Bruce as Freddie Gonzalez looks on. Dusty Baker hoping his Reds can return the 9th inning favor to the Marlins, who scored 4 in the top of the 9th. Not there. Swing and a miss. Bruce retired. Second strikeout in the inning. Second out of the inning.
Now that's the Nunez go-to pitch right there. After he gets a couple of strikes on a left-handed hitter, he goes that little changeup that good arm action, spins down and away, acts like a screwball. And he's gotten both Kevin Barker and Jay Bruce chasing the same pitch.
He's whistling the can to. And don't forget about the bunt. He knows Stubbs. Through, great speed, and Stubbs got the Reds on the board back in the third. He singled to left, stole a base, scored on the hit by Drew Sutton. The Reds starting the two Drews at the top of the order. Both of them have contributed on this night. Sutton not only driving in the lone Reds run in the first 8 innings with the base hit. In the 8th, he led off with a triple and scored on a base hit by Votto to give the Reds what looked like a comfortable 2-0 lead in the bottom of the 8th. But 4 in the 9th, giving the Marlins the lead. 2 balls, 1 strike. Say what you want, Chris, when you hit the month of August and the bottom fell out of the Reds season, you wondered which way they would go. Well, this team has not quit, and the young players have played with energy, and they're never out of a ball game. Here's a line drive to right, going over, gloving it will be Carroll. Hit right on the button by Stubbs, but Nunez will escape after Carroll hauls it in the right field corner. So a 4-run top of the 9th inning.